5 hours.
No. Hello, everyone out there in music land and in Facebook land and in YouTube land, and welcome to another episode of Black Spinner Music Podcast. And today we got a full house, like Al was just saying. And today's topic, we're going to be doing top 10 debut albums. This should be very interesting because there's so many great debut albums. And also, you know the way we do it here at Black Spinner Circle, we're going to talk about the album. I'm pretty sure we'll talk a little bit about the career of where these debut albums went to, and if the debut albums helped the band or artists further their careers, or maybe they were just one and done. So let's introduce everyone today. Today we're going to have Jerry Superman Supa from the Mark and Jerry BS Sessions.
Every Thursday night at around 9 o'clock Central will be on. We're the Seinfeld of YouTube cast. We just talk about nothing, and it's fun. So
it's really good. Now with the BS Sessions, BS means BS, and it's very interesting stuff. It's usually stuff that's going on in the week or that day. It's pretty interesting. Very current events on music, television, sports, and then they get to the topic of music. And also we have with us Al Just the Facts Horta from the Be Cool or Be podcast.
Al, cheers.
I'm going to say it again, the greatest podcast name out there.
Yep, Be Cool or Be podcast Al.
Thank you.
Every podcast, I think I've said that so far.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You can keep reminding me.
And I'm also at the Be Cool or Be podcast out. Al is on Facebook and needs 2 more viewers to make 1,000.
Come on, let's do it tonight.
Followers, so do it tonight.
YouTube.
There is an awesome video of Paul McCartney's Thursday night show at Giant Stadium at East Rutherford, New Jersey. And if you stick around for the whole thing, you will see Bruce Springsteen jump on stage, John Bon Jovi get up on there. So it's a really, really cool. He shoots it great. So, you know, if you're a Beatle fan, an Al fan, or a Paul fan, go check it out. He does a really good. He really puts really good videos out there.
Paul put on a 3-hour show, man. Incredible.
Yeah, it was a 3-hour.
How old is he? 80. He just turned 80.
Next
2
day.
days before his 80th birthday.
Yep.
Yep.
And then Brian Wilson turned 80 the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know the birthdays were so close. And also we have Kate from the International House of Vinyl and also Vinyl Street.
Yeah, that's the new page. The new page we're trying to get rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So if y'all are looking for vinyl and y'all live somewhere where there's not a record store near you, check out Kate at International House of Vinyl or at Vinyl Street. They have great waffles on great music. It's fantastic. They'll tell you everything you need to know about the album.
There you go, Al, $9.99.
Yep. And we also have with us Dr. Brad Dahl from Yarg Radio, Yarg Metal. Check them out too. It's a free radio station.
Great station.
Great station to listen to great metal. New, old, very, very deep tracks. It's fantastic. Check it out. And it is commercial free. And if there's a commercial, you can also see pictures of his son with a bass, with a bass on the screen. So that's fun. And I will be your host. I am the Black Spinner, and we will get started with the top 10 debut albums. It's always fun to do these because we never know which way we are going to go. So let's get started. We'll go Jerry, Al, Kate, and Brad, and then me, and then just keep on going until we're all done. Jerry, what's your number 10?
Okay, this one's probably a little controversial because technically it's not her first album, but I think it was her choice. It would be her first album. It's Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. Now, I know she did 2 pop albums before that, but I don't think she would really count those anyway. But this was a great album when it came out, man. It's just so powerful. These songs that's great with Glenn Ballard. I mean, this album is just chock full of hits, man, from top to bottom. I'd want to see her twice in concert. She never disappoints. I think she's very talented, and I hope she sticks around for a while. I think she says she's thinking about retiring, but I hope not. But this album here, man, it was all over the place when it came out.
Yeah, it was.
The radio everywhere. I mean, it was just blew up. I mean, she was headlining, I think, in a matter of months after this was released, and that's pretty good for a debut album.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's on number 10.
What's your favorite track off that album, Jerry?
God, it's actually probably Mary Jane.
Okay.
Wasn't one of her popular songs. I think, of course, ironic. You ought to know. Hand in the Pocket. I mean, See Right Through You. I mean, you can go on and on. I mean, from top to bottom, this is a great album.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's had 2 pop albums in Canada that were released, but yeah, you can argue about this one, but I consider this her debut album.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of us do. I got that on cassette, and you're right. It's a really good listen.
And I understand she's an acquired taste, man. I know some people don't like her and stuff, but I don't know. I liked her from day one.
Yeah, I think she's very talented and a great writer, and the music that she writes suits her perfectly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, what's your number 10?
I gotta say, man. Well, going to Jerry, that album was all over the place, bro. Like, what was it? 95 that came out.
95, I think.
Yeah, that album was huge, man.
It was.
Crazy huge.
But yeah, man, that's a great album, man. Didn't make my top 10, but it's definitely a great debut if you're gonna count it as a debut, technically.
Yeah, I think they expected to only sell like 25 or 30,000 copies.
What did it sell? Like 10 million?
Yeah, a lot. That was
4 or 5 singles off of that.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta say, man, there's a lot of going and doing this. There's a lot of great debut albums, man. And it's my criteria for picking. I kind of did like a mixture of what was really important to me growing up, and what shaped my musical, tastes. But also, like, I also factored in stuff that was really important to, like, that changed music.
Mm-hmm.
And just there's game changers in here in my list.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, Al, because that's kind of the same criteria I was using. I mean, I reordered things because I was like, wait a second, I can't have this one in front of this one because this was so much more influential, even though I listened to this one more.
Yeah. So
you're right.
I kind of
like your criteria.
I kind of did a hybrid of that, like those two kind of criterias. But
that push a genre forward, or like started a fire.
Debut.
Great record.
I mean, every song on here was played on radio, dude.
Yep.
You could slap the name Greatest Hits on here, and it's exactly what it is, dude. I mean, and they had a lot of hits even after the sound, but this is about as perfect of a debut as you can fucking get, man.
Yeah.
I mean, combining pretty hard rocking guitars with synths, kind of, giving the genre of new wave kind of a push there, I mean, I never really considered them like a new wave band. I just consider them a great rock band. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they have before new wave. What year is that? Is that 78?
Well, this is 78.
Yeah,
that's when new wave really kind of. There you go.
Benjamin Orr had such a great voice, man. Benjamin Orr, man, his voice was just incredible, in my opinion.
I mean, Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed, You're All I've Got Tonight, Bye Bye Love, Moving in Stereo, which makes you think of
Fast Times. Yeah.
Fast Times of Ridgemont High.
How can everybody not forget that part?
But it's so true, Al. Every one of those songs are on their greatest hits.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Every track on that. It's an amazing album.
Produced by Roy Thomas Baker, which was a great producer too. Shout out to him. Yep. He did a lot of great Queen. That's why you got a lot of good, like, you know, I mean, you got that lush production on here right out the bat, man. I mean, like the production, you know, usually bands' first albums, the production, the budgets are a little limited. The production's kind of a little more raw. But I mean, these guys were like, you know, they were lush right out of the gate, man. So, but I mean, dude, this is I mean, to have it even at number 10 is kind of fucked up. But
Hey, but sometimes it's hard to put these where you think they belong because others go in front of it. And yeah, it's hard. It really is.
Yeah, so that's my number 10, The Cars debut.
That's a really good choice.
Yeah, that's a good album. Kate, number 10.
This I went with Third Eye Blind, self-titled, 1997.
Good tunes on that
It
one.
was just, yeah, it's one of those albums. I did a lot of my lists the same way you guys were talking about, that it's like more influential. I don't know if you want to call it like college rock or I have a feeling it's going to be on a couple people's lists, but
yeah, I like Stephen Jenkins. He's a good singer.
Such a great album. There's so many hits on this. This was such a big turning point for that like late 90s rock scene.
Yep.
That it's not grunge, it's not, you know, it doesn't fit in these other brackets. It's kind of its own thing going into the
Good
late
rock and roll,
90s.
man. Just good
Yeah.
rock and roll.
Yeah, and I don't know, it gets billed as college rock. I feel like Alanis probably is in that too, that she gets put in that box, but it's awesome. You know, it's just one of those albums that, you know, even if you don't know them, you probably know half the songs on there because they were on the radio so much.
Yeah, I think they released 4 singles off of that album.
Yeah, because that's Jumper, Semi-Charmed Life, How's It Gonna Be, and
Graduate.
probably like Losing a Whole Year. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Graduate. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those, it's like start to finish bangers. So
yeah, and my favorite track on there is still Motorcycle Drive-By.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Still around. I haven't heard anything about them in a long time.
They played.
They put in packages.
Semi-Charmed Life still gets like
it does
regular radio play. Yeah, like
that
it's
song
wild. You get regular radio play on it.
Yeah.
What was that big hit off their next album? Go hear that song. Never Let You.
Oh yeah, probably
I Never Let You Go.
That song you hear.
Yep.
Yeah, that's off the
good band. That's a great debut.
Yeah, that's a jam of a song too.
Yeah.
I dig that a lot.
Yeah, that was a good band.
I saw them probably in 2018. They played. We have the like Arts Beats and Eats is a big festival in Royal Oak here, and they played that. They were like the closing act of the weekend. That's always Labor Day weekend. They were the closing act. So
yeah, I saw them.
They're still good live.
Yeah, I saw them back in 2000 or 2001 or something like that.
Stephen Jenkins was also in that movie Rockstar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he the guy that replaced like Mark Wahlberg in this Tribute band?
Yep.
Was it really? Huh.
Yeah.
I gotta take a look at that.
There were all kinds of musicians in that band playing actor roles. It was kind of who's who, actually.
Brad, what's your number 10?
That's a great question. I'm gonna check that album out. By the way, Kate.
Yeah, it's a
good album.
Yeah,
Lots of good songs. You'll recognize a lot of stuff on it just from late 90s radio, and it's still on the radio now.
Yeah, I played in a band in the 90s that played well, I know we played Semi-Charmed Life.
Yeah.
But we might have played some of those other songs. We played a lot of 90s stuff. But it wasn't what I was listening to.
Right. That's all right.
What I was listening to. Okay, this number 10 on my list. This is an album that this is back in the 80s. I was in the studio with my band recording, and our producer, he had just a huge collection of albums, and he had a bunch of cassettes and stuff. And so one night I was kind of thumbing through his cassettes and looking, and I saw one. And I was like, hey, what's this one like? And he goes, oh, he said, you might like that, because he knew I was a rock dude. Yeah, and he says, why don't you take that? And I said, cool. So I put it in my car, and it stayed in my stereo for like over a week. I didn't take it out. I mean, I just listened to it over and over and over. And that was Tesla's first album, Mechanical. Right from the get-go with the bass kicking it off, and because I'm a bass player, and the beat of that Easy Come Easy Go, I was all in. I was like, God, this is a really good, great song, good sounding album. And then the next song, The next song was great, and it just kept going. And I'm like, there's no crap on this album.
It's Coming At You Live, wasn't it?
Yeah, Coming At You. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they did that on their first album with the guitar solos, dueling guitar solos. I thought, man, I wonder if you think the record company would be like, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
Or even the producer be like, no, we're not going to have guitar solos, and especially on the second song, just coming in. But
Dude, I love that album.
Coming At You Live is a great song. But Getting Better, Too Late for Love, Rock Me to the Top, we're Modern Day Cowboy,
Little Susie.
Oh, Little Susie
on the up.
Yeah,
Which is a cover.
It is a cover. I didn't know that.
From where?
It was a band it was a band. I can't think of the name of the band. You know who it is, Jerry?
No, I do not. But I know it is a cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say I
can't remember the name of the
band.
band.
A gift for you if you knew who it was. I don't. I've heard that I've known it's a cover, but I don't know who originally did it. I've never heard the original.
Tesla's version crushes it, man.
And he didn't mention Changes. That's my favorite song off the album.
That is a great. Yeah,
and they're a great live band.
That album does not have a clunker on it, man.
No. It was that's what I thought. I was like, holy crap, this thing is so strong. I mean, I just listened to it over and over and over and over. And
I remember seeing Modern Day Cowboy on MTV for the first time.
Yep.
And it was 1986. And, in the midst of all the hairspray and spandex, these guys come fucking rocking out with jeans and T-shirts. And it was so refreshing. I was like, holy shit, these guys fucking rule, dude. Like really, really hard, so. Yeah. And it became like one of my favorite bands. I mean,
great band.
Another excellent choice, man.
Yeah, and I didn't pick that one, man, but I'm glad you did, Brad.
Yeah, and Al, I thought I had the Cars in my top 10, but I did. I didn't have it on my list. What the hell's wrong with me?
Well, we picked up the slack for each other.
Yeah. So I was going to juggle my list after you mentioned it, and I thought, oh well, Al's got me. So
and you got me, man. I really would have put that if I had room. That would definitely.
I can't emphasize enough how great that album is, man. That's an excellent choice right there, man.
That's been a long time since I've heard that one. I'll put a check mark on it so I can pull it out after the show and hear it because it's been a while.
Man, their first 3 albums are just incredible, man. Just excellent.
I'm telling you, just right at the very beginning of Easy Come, Easy Go, it's like that is awesome.
My dog got to the you see where my dog got to the corners?
Oh, you got that on
vinyl? It's like this dude.
I love that album too.
Yeah, it's good.
I love that album so much.
My number 10. It's so funny because we were just talking about this band before we got on air. Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love.
Another great one.
This is so, man, they play with so much reckless abandonment on this album. They just went at it.
Full of attitude, man.
Yeah. Live Wire, Come On and Dance, Public Enemy #1, Take Me to the Top, Side 2, Piece of Your Action, Starry Eye, Too Fast for Love, and On With the Show. Man, this was just a great album. Yeah. It's so fun to listen to from a beginning to end. And this is pretty cool too, this insert of them.
Yeah. That's a badass picture right there.
Yeah.
That's when
it really is.
That's when they were awesome, man.
Their first 2 albums, man, are top notch, man.
Yeah.
I'll go 3 because I love Theater of Pain.
I really like Theater of Pain as well, but I mean the first
I like them all, but the first 2 albums are like all the way through. The rest of them are just like songs, sporadically through the records.
Yeah.
There's still some good songs.
Yeah.
And like right after this great debut, they came out with their best, Shout at the Devil. And man, they were on top of the world. And, right now they've got that big tour going on, raking in the cash. And I mean, that's what they're doing. I mean, but like I said before, it would have been so fitting if they would have just ended it off at the Whiskey, where they started, where their dreams came true. But I'm not.
I'll just leave it at that. The whole contract, it just makes them look unauthentic, man.
Kiss Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after all that, you know, the last show for the end, and I went. And
There's people that are pissed at that, man.
I got suckered into it
because they spent like thousands of dollars to see their last show.
Yeah, because it was going on and on that was the last show, and you
and
know,
what a place to end it, like you said, man. I mean, jeez.
All right, well, Jerry, number 9.
My number 9 is one of the most underrated bands, in my opinion. Again, another acquired taste is Collective Souls, Hence Allegations, and Anything Left Unsaid.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a great album. I remember when I heard Shine for the first time, man. I just thought, man, this song freaking rocks. And this has a lot of good songs on it. It's not, well, yeah, actually, I pretty much like it all the way through.
Yeah.
This band has been so underrated, in my opinion. And
they are.
Ed Rollin is such a great singer. And the Ross Childress on guitar, before he got kicked out for sleeping with Ed's wife, was like his voice and his guitar just sounded so perfectly together. This is like typical when you think of 90s right here, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, still an underrated band. I can't wait for their new one to come out. I just got one of their great albums on vinyl for Record Store Day. And anyways, it's my number 9.
So that would just be like straight up rock and roll, right?
Pretty much so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like very little keyboard. There's like this little violin solo he does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool.
You know, when that first came out, you know, like, you know, everything that came out in that time frame, everybody fucking called it alternative.
Right.
They're alternative. And I heard them actually called one time by somebody, I think it was on MTV, like Southern grunge or some shit like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, I've heard them be called Southern rock before.
Yeah. You know, it's like grunge, everything has to have a tag on it. You know, it's like
where are they from?
Band.
Atlanta.
And they were big. And dude, they had a lot of hits in the 90s, man.
They're still putting out great songs. They're just little attention and no radio play whatsoever.
Yeah,
and they're another great live band too. And I've seen them many times, and they just.
I remember the first time I saw them. I saw them open for Van Halen in like '95, and they were great, man. You know?
And really, I've given them little attention, but you know that's going to change. That's why I like to do this because I'm introduced also to new things as well from y'all.
Yeah.
So
check out their first 3 albums.
Oh yeah, I sure will. I sure will.
The rest of them will grow on you if you like the other 3. The first 3, I mean. But,
and in fact, my wife has a couple of Collective Soul that I've slipped into my collection, so I'll pull them out. Hey! When we got married, what hers is mine. With you know, so I combined our record our CD collection together. Al, what do you got at number 9?
Okay, man, this is like another one that you could consider, you know, a perfect album, something that pretty much every song got played on rock radio. And as a guitar player, I was always like, how did this guitar player get this sound, this tone? You know, and it's got to be the first Boston album.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is, again, you can't get more perfect than this. Like, there's not a wasted note on here, man. Everything.
People are still trying to figure out his tone. It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Scholz's guitar tone was to die for on here, man. You know, and I mean, shit, man. You can't get more perfect than it. This and the Cars are like perfect debuts. I think this is even more perfect, actually.
That's another record you hear every song on the radio.
Every song on the radio. Every song was a hit.
And I'm not even going to name the songs. So everybody fucking knows them anyways.
And that solo on "Hitch a Ride" is just so freaking iconic, man.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And when I put it on, it still sounds fresh. It really does.
Yeah. And I love. I mean, one of my favorites on here. I mean, there's so many favorites, but I love "Foreplay" Long Time. That's
man,
love that one, man.
Love that song.
You know, "Smoking" was always great. I mean, but yeah, man, Cars. I mean, sorry, Boston debut.
Yeah, 2 bands out of Boston there. No.
Yeah, there you go, right out of the gate, man. Baseball fans would hate me because I'm a Mets guy. Actually, if I was a Yankees guy, they would hate me.
Yeah.
There you go.
Kate, what do you got at number 9?
I was thinking about the album cover from Boston that there was a meme going around that was like, I was today years old when I realized this is an upside down guitar spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That just made me laugh because it made me think of that. But I went with Blind Melon, the B
Good
girl.
stuff there, man.
I mean, Shannon Hoon, like, I don't know. You just can't beat that.
What an unusual tone, and what a great
voice. Yeah, such a different voice.
Yes.
Early 90s. This came out in 92, and it's just one of those albums that, like, it's probably under the radar for people who aren't big music people, but like No Rain obviously was played on the radio a lot. And in my mind, that's like, not to say the worst song on the album, but the least good song.
Like it's a very uncorrect.
That's their throwaway song. You know, a lot of albums end up having some throwaway.
It's funny for a throwaway song how popular that was. Yeah. I just heard it in a commercial the other day. Actually, it's in some commercial right now.
It's in commercials. It's all over. It's still played on the radio regularly, and it's like their big hit. And it's like a throwaway song from this album. But I'd have to say, like, one of my favorite songs of all time is probably "Change." That's on here, and yeah, I don't know. It's just one of
now. They continued with another singer, right?
They still, they came out with another album like last year or the year. I want to say like recent.
Now, was Shannon only on the first one?
He's on
he was
three.
on the second one.
He's on like three albums, okay. I think. He's on Soup, and what's the next one? I can't think.
I remember Soup. I didn't know that there was a third one.
Yeah, I feel like he's on their third one, but I can't think of what the heck the name of it is.
Yeah, he was young, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's another young one. Yeah.
Was he a 27 club member? Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
And the thing with that album is that what's not talked about is that there are so many jam songs on there with great guitar solos.
Well, like way harder than No Rain. Like
Yeah, because No Rain is a very uncharacteristic.
It's very different sounding song compared to all the rest of their catalog.
I don't know the guitar player's name. That's a great solo on that song. I love that solo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great album, Kate. Brad.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that album out. So
yeah, that's good. That and Soup, I mean, their second one's great too.
He was 28.
Yeah, he was like right around there.
Was 28?
Yes, he was 28.
You guys are going to keep me busy. Okay. Number 9 for me. This is an album. This is a band I didn't get into till later in the 90s when, I was kind of looking for rock bands. And there was a rock band in England. Their first album came out in 1989. I think that's when this album came out. Am I right about that? Survey says, 1989, October. So the band is a British band called Thunder, and the album is Backstreet Symphony. And it's kind of like the Tesla album for me when I first got it. It was when I decided I needed to lose some weight and started exercising and spending a lot of time on a treadmill. And I got this album and I put it on, and I found that I could run through the whole album because it was that good, and I wouldn't even know I was running. The riffs on it are just so. It just reminded me of I don't know. They're just great rock riffs, and it's just like, man, I wish I could write a guitar riff like that. And their good lead guitarist Luke Morley, who writes everything, just a brilliant writer. Still, they just came out with a new album just a month ago, double album, Dopamine, and they're still just putting out great music. They're a band I've never seen because they've never played here. They might have, I think, when their first album came out, they might have come over here, but I'm not sure about that even. But that's one of my to-do list is someday go to England and see Thunders.
Oh wow!
Make that happen because they're a great live band. I've got a lot of their live stuff and fantastic. But that first album, you put it on, it just rocks. The guitar tone is great. The leads are great, and next thing you know, the album will be over, and you'll be like, "Wow, how did that happen?" It's that good.
Yeah,
What was
the
that?
thing is that-
Thunder, and what was the name of the album?
The name of the album is Backstreet Symphony,
Okay.
which that song is fantastic. I mean, it starts off with a song that I always tell my wife it's about her. It's called "She's So Fine," and then it goes into "Dirty Love." So that's the one that I'd actually heard on MTV. They did a video for that, which was kind of corny, but there's just so many. An Englishman on Holiday, that's a great one. Girls Going Out of Her Head, just great rock, just pushing rock, and
Got it in my cart. Gonna buy it.
Yep. Like,
There you
I
go.
put it on the list.
Yeah, I will. In fact, yeah, if you buy it and you don't like it, I'll pay you for you.
Nah, man, I know I'll probably like it. It's just
If
not
you're a
my
rock
stuff.
dude and you don't like this album, there's something wrong with you.
You
Great
guys,
vocal.
I trust with everything. I'm like, end up looking up stuff. I'm like, every time it's good.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything, and I've been
Yeah,
like,
and the thing is that I've been seeing their name around lately on Facebook, on lists and stuff like that. I guess because of the new album that just came out that Brad talked about, Dopamine.
Yeah, they're getting a big push on that. Of course, not so much in the U.S.
Right.
I think right after that first album, the record company dropped them, and they couldn't get anything going over here at all. So, and that's yeah. But their first, all of their albums are good.
I gotta check that out. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Good one. Is this number 9? Are we
What was that
number 9?
second- what was that
yeah, you're
second
on
blind-
9.
What was that second Blind Melon album, Kate? I'm sorry.
Soup, right? Soup.
Soup's
Nico.
their number 2.
No. Sorry, hang on. I always forget about Nico and then Soup,
Okay.
or Soup and Nico. 95 is Soup.
Nico's after them because Soup was number 2.
Yeah. Soup's 95 and Nico's 96. Yeah. Soup's really good too.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah.
My number 9 is from 2001. The Strokes with "This Is It."
Good one.
It's a great album. And in fact, this version has New York City Cops was added in there. I've also got the single on that. I'm a big Strokes fan. Oh, I thought this was translucent, but the tracks on here, I mean, this is a perfect album from beginning to end. Is This It? Modern Age, Someday, Last Night, Hard to Explain. This is a really good album. Hey, Al, I wanted to ask you, since you live in the New York area, this whole movement happened between 2000 and 2001, the whole rejuvenation of the CBGBs and, punk rock and pop punk coming back to the forefront. Were you interested in that kind of stuff when it was coming out, or?
I wasn't that big into it, man. The Strokes obviously were like kind of at the forefront of that.
Right.
Who else was in that?
Like the Hives.
The Hives, Vines.
Yeah.
What Franz Ferdinand, I feel like's in that group.
Yes, exactly.
Were the Black Keys qualified for that too?
Yeah, because their early album is that far back. I feel like they didn't pick up.
2000.
They didn't pick up right then, but their
Yeah,
early
they picked up
album.
more about the 2010s.
I saw them. They're phenomenal live.
I've seen them once. They
were
opened up
amazing.
for Kings of Leon when I saw them.
I saw them headline, and they did like a unplugged, like just one mic between the two of them.
Oh, yeah?
Part. Holy smokes! Yeah, phenomenal.
Very talented.
I saw the Hives actually when I went to I took my daughter to go see Pink.
Yeah.
They actually opened up for Pink.
Wow.
They would be good live.
I was blown away. I was like, because Pink, she's cool, man.
Pink's pretty badass.
You know what? She for a pop star, dude, she's really actually really good.
Yeah,
but the Hives and Pink just don't go together.
That's a weird combo, but I bet that was good.
It is very weird, yeah.
But I think that was kind of cool of her to put them on.
To grab them up.
So I was kind of
she's a big rocker person, though. I feel like even though she's a pop star, she's like a big rock nut.
Yeah.
But that the other band I think of in that group is that OK Go. They have all the really cool music videos. Like if you don't know them, their music videos are super fun and wild.
OK Go, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
about that.
I feel like they're in that same time little box. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of the Strokes. I think they're already on album 6. which was a really good album too. After their
that was a pretty big scene though, like that whole garage kind of rock, like kind of resurgence. But I think really kind of, I don't know if
it died down pretty quickly though.
It was really, it came and went like in a year or two.
Yeah, and some bands survived and pushed forward, and some didn't. Strokes are the ones I think that stayed the longest. I've never seen them live, but I have seen their guitar player, Albert Hammond Jr. live. Another, I really like his solo stuff a lot, and I was able to see him live. And so that's my number 9 is the Strokes. Jerry.
Actually, I want to say something to you, Andy, real quick.
Yeah.
I told you a couple of shows ago about how I couldn't stand Neil Young. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I went back and I went to sleep one night and I was on my Apple Tunes and I was like, I went through the Neil Young song list.
Yeah.
And my opinion has changed. He's got some really good songs. I didn't like him back then, but I like him now. So I appreciate you making me want to go through that again.
You got to revisit stuff. I always give stuff a second chance.
Yeah.
Your ears are different.
My number 8, sticking with Atlanta bands, Black Crowes, Shake Your Money Maker.
Great one.
Great.
I mean, this album, when it came out, was so fresh and such a nice kick in the ass to, the hair, I don't like calling them hair bands, but it was just balls out rock and roll. Twice as Hard, Jealous Again. Of course, She Talks to Angels. Great rock. Hard to Handle.
It's still on the radio all the time. Both, they're still on the radio all the time.
They never really captured the magic of this. They got great albums after this, but this one here, man, is definitely their opus, magnum opus. Excuse me, I got that wrong. But
was that in 90?
1990, I think. Yeah.
You see, I've been following also what Brad had said a few shows back, how the beginning of a decade really stretches new music or new sounds. The rebirth of a new decade gets a lot of good music going on.
But I actually missed this. They'd done this on their last tour, this whole album, and I would have loved to have seen it, but I couldn't go to it. But great blues rock.
Yeah, it is. And nobody sounded like them at the time.
No, that's why I said it was such a fresh, fresh on the ears, you know what I mean, as far as different sounds.
Yeah.
That's my number 8.
All right, my number 8, courtesy of my older brother Paul, if he's watching, thanks Paul for this. I was a little kid, and this was one of his favorite bands, and he used to always spin this album on the turntable. He always had the ritual. He would bring the album home. He would very meticulously slit the plastic down the side, take good care of, put the album on the turntable, look at the liner notes, look at the pictures. And as a little kid, I watched him do that, and I followed suit not too long after that. But I always heard this album, and it just really kind of enthralled me. And I don't know, just the whole sound of it really captured my young mind. And I probably didn't even understand what was going on, but it's got to be the Doors' first album. Again, this is an album that is pretty much near perfect. I mean, most of these songs got played on rock radio as well. You got Break On Through, you got Soul Kitchen, The Crystal Ship, 20th Century Fox, the Alabama song, Light My Fire, which, that's side 1,
Yeah.
Then you got Backdoor Man, I Looked at You, End of the Night, Take It As It Comes, and The End, which is one of my favorite songs.
Oh, yeah.
And, to me, Jim Morrison was really the first true superstar rock frontman, in my opinion. He influenced so many. If you listen to Danzig, if you listen to Cult, if you listen to any of those bands, In Excess, U2, all Jim Morrison's DNA is in all those guys, man. You know what I'm saying? And his lyric, he was a poet, obviously. I mean, he was writing dark lyrics when it was like taboo, you know what I mean? And I mean, dude, this album as a kid, it
And it's a great band too. Robbie Krieger, Raymond Zarek. What's the drummer's name? Densmore. What's his first name?
John
Densmore.
I mean, it's just
who
a
I
great
got to
band.
meet, who I got to meet, and then I got his autograph, and was really cool dude. And but yeah, man, I mean, this was this. I think this is
1968.
Yeah.
Or 67.
No, 67.
67.
67. And
man, that song at the end is so haunting.
It is.
And it's so good.
You know, and you know, Jim Morrison, you know, with the F word and all that stuff. I mean, it's like nobody was really hearing that, you know, back in the day. So,
and the way that they ended their career on LA Woman, that'll be a good one to talk about. Because LA Woman is a badass album.
Yeah.
Man. Was that really their last one though? That really wasn't their last album, was it?
Well, what was their last one with Morrison?
They had 2 albums as a trio after that.
Oh, okay.
But let's
right, I hear you.
It was the last one.
It's not the same.
Gotcha.
But this debut, man, incredible. It's got to be in my top 10 because as a youth, listening to this, it was really.
It just blows your mind. The first time you hear that, you're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. I mean, I think I was probably like 7, 8 years old. You know.
Yeah.
And there's still nothing like that ever since either. It's so original, and it is. Yeah.
Jim Morrison's, legend is still so dark and mysterious. You know. And that's what I'm saying. Like so many frontmen, you know, he influenced a lot of singers. And he doesn't get enough credit for his voice. I thought he had an incredible voice.
Yeah, I love his voice.
It was very unique and deep and had good range.
You know, like the song "Touch Me." You know, he can go like a little Sinatra-ish. You know, kind of that way. He can be snarling. You know, he could be. You know, it was just.
Well, and when he get like that deep, like baritone,
that baritone,
where he's like fills the room.
Yeah,
and
Produce Steel from Typo Negative was probably influenced by that too. So,
yeah,
you know,
and he's got that scream and that attitude.
Yeah,
and
that like stage presence.
Yeah,
Val Kilmer played perfectly in that movie.
Oh my gosh, I just watched that a couple months ago, and that film is such like a trippy, weird thing, but Val Kilmer sings all of it, and it's like his own band. Like the rest of the Doors even said, like they had parts of it where he's singing. He's like, I wouldn't have known it wasn't Jim Morrison.
Yeah,
when you listen to them in interviews. So if nobody's seen that, watch that. It's really bizarre, but it is absolutely phenomenal. Val Kilmer is like, I don't know if he won an Oscar or something, but he should have. It was like one of those amazing roles.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh,
I know.
He's so good.
I know Ray Manzarek kind of like, you know, he shunned it. He's like, Hollywood. They Hollywoodized it a little bit, but hey, they do that for every movie to make it more interesting.
Yeah, that's true. But I've never really been into biopics because I've never seen Bohemian Rhapsody. I've never seen Rocket Man.
I think the Doors one is great. Oliver Stone did a great job on
the Doors one's really good because it's like
Oliver Stone.
It's a drama. You know, it's more of a drama, and then it's like not all, I'm sure, based exactly on actual events.
So that's my number 8.
Just as like a weird film, it's good.
Cool, and then that's something that I'll probably check out.
Yeah.
What's your number 8, Kate?
Ooh, I keep like toying with this. I probably changed my list like 3 times today. I originally had Jeff Buckley's Grace, but
that's a great one too.
That's his only studio album, so that's not technically his like first album. That Live at Cine is his first album in '93, and then Grace came out in '94. And I was like, I don't know, and I was waffling, but that Jeff Buckley album is so good. So I put it back, and it's his only studio album. Like I said, he died in '97. He was only 30 when he died. So when he put this out, he's like, he's 27 years old, and this is just absolutely an amazing album. His voice is incredible. He plays guitar. He does so much stuff on this, and that The live at Cine is amazing, but I was counting studio albums, so this is his first and only studio album. Yeah, I don't know. That cover, I mean, that's out of all the covers of Lennon Cohen's Hallelujah, which is like one of the most covered songs ever. In my opinion, Jeff Buckley's is the best and most haunting version. So if anything, just check that out if you don't know it.
I've always heard about.
I have heard that, and that is a great version. It probably is the best version.
I think that's the best. And there's like, hundreds of covers of that, even by famous people. That's like a couple hundred covers of that by famous musicians and artists. And his is just so good. I don't know. That's one of those songs that like gives you chills when you listen to it.
Yeah.
Brad, what's your number 8?
Okay, number 8, 1984. My brother, CEO Dave, CEO of Yarg Metal, he called me and said, "Hey, you gotta get this album by this band. Never heard of them, and it was their first album. They did have an EP before it, but we're not counting EPs as albums. So.
Right.
And the band is Queensryche.
Oh, yeah.
The Warning.
There we go.
Love it.
And yeah, when I dropped the needle on that, it was like, ooh. I mean, I don't know. It was just fantastic. It's like, yeah, this isn't like anybody else. It doesn't sound like anybody else at this point. Mm-hmm. These guys really had their own thing going. I love that first album. I think it launched them very, very well. I like the fact that their following albums didn't sound like the first album. To me, that's a sign of a good band where you can, an album is one thing. It doesn't have to be a continuation of the other thing. Right. Like, yeah, let's do that over again. And as we can see with the band now, with a different singer, they play a lot of songs off this album. So that album obviously still holds a lot of weight with the band. Great, just a great sounding album too. So there you go. I got to see them warming up for Kiss on that tour, and they blew Kiss away. Believe it or not, it was Animalized tour, and Queensryche was just. I mean, they were so just tight. Everything was phenomenal. Backing vocals, the guitar work, everything was just so spot on, and in intensity. I mean, they were so good. So there you go, Queensryche, The Warning.
Good one.
Yeah, they just announced that they're coming with Judas Priests. Y'all saw that tour, but they're making another round and they're coming here, but not till November. Are they coming over here?
Yeah, I got to see. They're playing in Missouri, and I'm not sure where that is. St. Charles, is that close to St. Louis?
I'm not too sure.
Because there's somebody, a friend of ours, who's never seen Judas Priest, and I promised I would take him if they came to St. Louis. So I gotta make that promise.
Yeah.
A lot of these bands and tours are missing Nashville lately, and it kind of upsets me because I want to see a lot of them, but I don't want to travel 2 hours to see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I did see him here, and it was a very good show. So I would only travel just to see it with Bob. So there you
go. My buddy, no, not my buddy. My uncle and I went to go pick up my other uncle on Sunday, and my uncle Renee is a big. Me and him go back and forth on music, and I told him I was going to be doing this. So we were hearing debut albums, traveling about a 3-hour travel on Father's Day, and I knew this one was going to be on my list, but we put it on because when I first moved here to Houston, he had this on vinyl, and I would play it constantly on Friday nights whenever we would get together. That's The Outfield. Play Deep.
Yeah.
Dude, this album's so good from beginning to end.
Speaking of underrated, man.
Great 3-piece band. Say It Isn't So, Your Love, I Don't Need Her, Every Time You Cry, 61 Seconds, such a great song. Mystery Man, All the Love in the World, Talk to Me. I mean, this is just a great album. Unfortunately, I didn't get into any others by them.
Oh, I love Diamond Days. You listen to Diamond Days?
No.
It doesn't have the original drummer in it. Doesn't have the original drummer in it, but it's still great.
But the outfield play deep.
Two of those guys are gone now.
Yeah. We just, I think it was.
I can't remember the singer's name. John Spinks was a guitar player.
Tony Lewis.
Tony Lewis, yes. Good singer, great voice.
Yeah. But that was my number 8. Was going to be the outfield with Play Deep. That's just great, man. It's just a good pop rock album.
You hear Your Love just about every day somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's something about a song that you hear every day on the radio. It's overplayed, but when you hear in the context of an album, you're like, oh, hell yeah. You know? So that's my pick.
What
Jerry?
7?
Yeah.
All right. AC/DC High Voltage.
Ooh.
This album, man, is just
raw,
legendary. A Long Way to the Top.
If you want to
rock and roll singer, The Jack, Livewire, TNT. Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? I mean, this is just another album. I think you hear just about everything on the radio every now and then. Bon Scott, man. What can you say about that guy's voice, man? What a great rock and roll singer. Man.
One of my favorite frontmen.
Man, it just talk about being gone too soon.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't say that they've been the same band as they were back then, but I like a lot of their later albums. You know, a lot of people rag on them, say they've lost their touch or whatever, or can't write a hit anymore. But you know, I think they've been pretty consistent. You know, throughout their.
Oh yeah, they're a great band.
But this album here, man, this and Highway to Hell are just top notch AC/DC records.
The thing about those debut AC/DC album is it depends on what version you have. I think like Australian one's different.
Yeah, it was a High Voltage with a different album cover.
Yeah, there's different songs on it too, and I think what happened was the songs that were different on the Australian High Voltage, they put on 74 Jailbreak as that EP. So I think they put that out as kind of a leftover for the American audience to get like those songs that weren't on, you know, the American debut of High Voltage or the first couple of AC/DC albums. So
you see, I thought that they had stuck a couple of them also on
oh yeah, that one too.
On a Dirty Deeds done Dirty Cheap. They've also put them on there too.
See, that album didn't come out until after Bon Scott died here in America. It didn't come out until 81.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you had to get it as an import if you wanted that album. Yeah, like, you know, that early AC/DC discography is kind of like the Beatles discography, where like the UK is different than the US. You know, so a lot of people, I know a lot of collectors that like they seek out those Australian pressings, man. They're kind of hard to get, you know, but so.
But it's kind of like that song, Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? It's very unlike AC/DC, but it's also at the same time total AC/DC.
Well, that song was done with Dave Evans, the original singer. If you look, there was a singer before Bon Scott that was
right. Yeah, I heard that version actually somewhere on YouTube or
it's on YouTube. There's a video. There's a video for it and everything. They filmed a video, and they actually look like a glam band almost, like Malcolm Young. And like them, they're all dressed up like they're almost glammy in a way. You know,
really?
Kind of like the Sweet and like Slade, almost kind of like that style. It's dude. If you didn't see it, check that video out. It's pretty wild, man. And Dave Evans was their original singer. So
I mean, when you can make bagpipes sound cool, man, you know you're doing something
right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my number 7, I think. Yeah.
Nice one. Very nice.
So my number 7, again, like, and this is a band I actually didn't get this debut until like much later, actually, and it's since become, you know, one of my favorite albums, and that's Iron Maiden's first album. Yeah, like I came in on you know, Number of the Beast with Bruce. And I kind of didn't hear those first 2 albums for a couple of years, you know, because there was no internet back then. There was none of that, you know, unless and it wasn't until like my friend Ryan, who was a huge Maiden fan, he was like, dude, they have 2 albums like before with a different singer, Paul Diano. Check them out. And I did, and as I gotten older, like they've creeped up and become. I love Diano, man. I love those first 2 albums.
Killers, man. It's freaking incredible.
But this debut, man, it's raw, but it's still, dude. I mean, Transylvania, Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Charlotte the Harlot, and Iron Maiden, the song. Which they still do a Bruce.
Remember that home video they had? I think it was called 12 Wasted Years, I think, in the 80s,
Mhm.
and early 90s. They had a lot of footage from that, the club dates and stuff.
Yes.
It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, great stuff, man. Like from the Marquee Club, right, and stuff like that.
Really.
But that album cover, man, just look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
just
like it.
I mean, being a kid and seeing this, man, it's like, what the fuck is this, man?
Introduced Eddie to the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And,
I'm not going to say much more about it, man, because it's a legendary. And Jerry knows it. Everybody else, that's amazing.
Yeah, you'll see it again soon.
Yeah. But that's my 7.
But did y'all read that article where Iron Maiden is or their camp is going to take care of the rest of Paul Diano's
Great, yeah.
and
That's
surgery?
really cool, man.
Yeah, really it is.
Kate?
So this was such a tough call to pick between. I know we've talked a lot about a lot of grunge and different stuff. My number 7, I went with Nevermind.
It's not their debut, though.
Yeah.
This one?
It's
No.
not their debut.
What's
They
their
have Bleach.
debut?
Bleach.
I'm an idiot. Oh my god. No, what year did that come out? Because
89.
91. Oh my gosh,
89?
I'm a nerd.
Right?
So never mind.
Yeah.
I had this Sophie's choice between the two, so then I'll go with Pearl Jam 10 and 91.
Okay, that's right.
Bleach, I'm like, oh my god, my brain.
And
Yeah.
Bleach is a really fun listen.
That's why they call me fact checker.
Right. All right,
No,
calm down. What are you, Facebook?
Yeah, I thought I knew shit. I don't know nothing since I
So,
was compared to you guys. man.
Let's go with Pearl Jam 10. Apologies. Yeah, Bleach is definitely their debut album. My brain doesn't work today. Pearl Jam 10. I mean, that's just so many of their hits are on that. They still play a ton of them. It's on Al's list.
It's actually not, but
You got it
I'll
on
just
hand.
say now it's an honorable mention.
Yeah, I was,
All
busting,
right.
I was busting out my flannel when I heard that album. That's a great album.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just like I was trying so hard to decide. The reason I mentioned Nevermind is the same year, and that one I feel like was probably the more influential album. But PJ10, I mean, it's Alive. You have Even Flow. You have Black. You have Jeremy. Like all these heavy hitters that you still hear on the radio all the time. So
But even the deep cuts are awesome on that album.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just such a good.
In my opinion, it's a pretty perfect album. Too.
Like soup to nuts, that one.
Yeah.
Why Go Oceans, like, and that's we've talked about their like
Release Me is one of my
MTV
favorites.
Live, yeah.
And the thing is that with
Yeah.
10 and Nevermind, they were both influential to different rock genres.
Yeah.
They both went different ways.
Yeah, same year, and then you have that kind of split where we've talked about that before too.
Yeah.
Where people are like, "Oh, you like Pearl Jam," when they're into Nirvana or vice versa. And it's like, why can't you have both? You can
Love
have
them
both.
both.
But yeah, I like that to open up with Once, and then it closes with Release Me, and that's such a like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know,
It's a
start
really
to
good album.
finish, great
that
album.
album nearly missed my top 10. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a very important.
I had
album.
a feeling that you have somebody else in the top 10 that we've talked about a few times.
Bradley.
But all right, Brad, number 7.
Well, I have to say that I thought Nevermind was their first album too. So
My brain is like so kerfuffled.
I knew
from
they had
being on
something. I knew they had something, but I couldn't remember
Bleach.
the name of it.
Yeah.
yeah, first time
Yeah.
I'd heard of them.
Yeah, that's true though. The first time you did hear about them was Never Mind You.
Yeah.
You guys,
That's their. I should say that's their breakout album. Then
There you
you
go.
guys should
There you
listen
go.
to this story. That's a really
What a
good
Bleach
breakout
is
album.
good.
That's
Yeah,
a
I don't
whole
know.
nother topic right there.
Yeah, breakout albums would be a fun show.
Yeah,
Changed the musical landscape, man.
really did.
Which
Yeah.
you know, I like to think that I know a lot about music, and yet I was really wrong about something, because I once told somebody that God, I just blanked on the name of the album. Anyway,
It's okay.
I was
It'll
I'll
come
come
back.
back to you, Brad.
It'll
so
come
my
back.
brain just stopped. I'll come back to
Oh
that
my
story
gosh. Yeah.
when it starts working again.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. Okay, so next one for me, number 7, 1983. This is an album. When it came out, you thought, well, how good is this really going to be? And I'll use Al's terminology. This is a perfect album. It's Dio Holy Diver.
Oh,
I mean, from top to bottom, every single song. It was like, wow, how did he do this? How did he walk out of Black Sabbath and put together a band? Of course, he stole one person, but how was he able to write those songs? Of course, Jimmy Bain, I think, Vivian Campbell, the whole thing. It was like the perfect
magical.
It was, yeah. It was totally magical. It's like, man, what if they could have kept those guys together after the third album? But anyway, we'll never know.
That voice, man. Best metal voice ever, man.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, everything. There's nothing bad about that album. It's great sound. I love Jimmy Bain's bass sound. I love Vivian's playing on there. His guitar playing.
His drums sound great.
Good.
You know,
So good. So,
who produced that album?
what's that?
Do you know who produced that album? I can't think of who produced it. I
Yeah.
can't think of off the top of my head who produced it.
Let me look. Ronnie James Dio.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he had some help, but as far as
shit. I mean, after being in Rainbow and Sabbath, I'm sure he knew like the knobs. So
right.
you know.
yeah, it was his. You know, it was the recipe for failure, really. I mean, a guy leaves a big band like that, and then produces his own album, names it after himself, and you just figured, oh, there's no way this is going to be that great, and it was. It's better. I love this album.
Everything his voice has been on has been gold, man.
Yeah.
Well, think about Ronnie. Think about Ronnie being in Rainbow and you know, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, the first album, Rainbow Rising. Those first two albums are fucking phenomenal. Then you do Sabbath. First two albums are phenomenal. Then you do Dio. First two albums are phenomenal. I mean, like, to go from like one band to another band to like, and having I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody's ever really done that.
And that's another solid 10 years of output from him.
There you go.
All those bands together.
Yeah.
With his writing and
76 to 86.
Yeah.
I even like Stars. I thought that was a cool tune.
Think about his output. Think about his output from 76 to 86. That 10-year span. Incredible, dude.
He was top of the heavy metal world no matter where he went.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
Great pick, Brad.
Thank you.
And again, that's not on my list, man. It should be. You know, I wish I had it on there.
Well, number 6 of mine would probably be on your list, and let's just say it's a similar story.
I'm not going to talk about this one that much because we talk about this band almost every week, I think. But it's because we love them so much. The debut album by Black Sabbath.
There you go. Of course. Game changer, man.
Dude, I mean, it introduced heavy metal. You know, and the inside of it. I don't know if you can see the upside down cross there. Yep. You know, it's on the Vertigo label, this one. But you know, how can you not pick it? You know, I was going back and forth. I was like, no, I talk about Black Sabbath all the time. Let me put some on the list. But then it belongs there.
You have to.
It just does. You know, the title track, Black Sabbath, The Wizard, NIB, you know, and side 2 is like a sweet of just freaking metal, man. Just weird metal.
When I listen to that, not to cut you off, Andy.
Yeah, of course.
When I listen to an album on headphones, and I've talked about this before, I put my mindset in really they recorded it in 1969.
Yeah.
Okay, because it comes out in February of 70. Okay, and I think they took 2 days to record it, right? Mm-hmm. And you listen to it, and it's like watching the movie The Exorcist. The atmosphere, just like you could feel like the atmosphere of it. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like when they watch The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
And they're in the room with Linda Blair, and they're breathing, and you can see their breath. You can feel the chill in that room. It's like when you listen to this album, you get the chill, especially in the beginning with the rain, the tolling bell, thunder. It's like it just sets up the whole tone of the album. I don't know, man. I don't think there's another album that's ever captured an atmosphere as this album, dude. In my opinion, it's just I don't know how to explain it.
And then there were rumors about the girl in the front, that they didn't know who she was.
Yeah, you look at the album cover while you're listening to it, and it's just like it goes with it, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry, Andy.
No, man, no. Thank you for adding stuff like that.
It's gonna be on my list anyway because it is.
But I had to put it in there. It's just Black Sabbath, man. I mean, we talk about them all the time. They're so important. So
game changer.
Yep.
Black Sabbath, number 6, of course. Or is that 7?
That's 7.
7.
There you go. Another game changer.
Number
Metallica, kill them all, man.
Start of a whole other genre.
Talk about being blown away the first time you hear something. This one here, man. I mean, again, it's just chock full of great. I mean, from top to bottom, great freaking songs. Hit the Lights, 4 Horsemen, Motor Breath, Jump in the Fire, Cliff Solo, Anesthesia, man, amazing. Whiplash, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, excuse me. Seek and Destroy, Metal Militia. I mean, excuse me. I would have loved Dave to stay in Metallica, but I guess that wasn't possible. He was too much out of it, I guess. But man, those 4 were great. I think Rob McGovney, did he play any part on this album? I can't remember. Or was he before this?
Ron McGovney?
Yeah.
No, Ron McGovney and Dave Mustaine, they were on the demo.
Oh, No Life Your Ass, right?
No Life to Leather. Which
No Life to Leather. That's it. Okay, thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, which if anybody's never heard that, I mean,
this
pull
is
that
all,
up on YouTube.
Yeah, this is all clip. That's right. I haven't heard it in a while. But man, this is a great fucking album. I mean, excuse my language. I mean, like you said, it's a game changer.
It started a whole another movement and another genre of heavy metal.
Yep. Game changer, man.
Yep. Man.
Introduced us to so much stuff.
Anyway, that's my number. What is that? 6?
Yeah.
So my number 6 is so when this came out, hard rock, heavy metal was getting a little bit watered down, a little bit too slick, and these guys came out and just brought everything back down to a street level again. It's got to be this, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to talk about it really because everybody knows the album.
Yeah.
And it just made a lot of bands rethink their approach and made bands want to, become a little more raw again, a little less polished.
That was a freaking dirty album, man. It was excellent.
A little less hairspray, a little less spandex. You know what I mean?
A lot more rock and roll.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it's like, I hate to compare them, but they've been compared to them. It's really kind of like the Rolling Stones on steroids, man. This album. And again, a perfect debut. I mean, you've pretty much heard every song on rock radio. So, I mean, Appetite, man. What else to be said? That's my 6. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So
then I will later on. Kate, what's your number 6?
Kind of a rando. I went with the inevitable Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Zippers. Yeah, bottle of beer.
This is one of my favorite bands, honestly. I've seen them a few times. They're phenomenal. I've seen them in a few different incarnations because I've never seen them with Catherine Waylands, who's on this, the female voice on this. I've never seen them with her, but I've seen them with like 3 different other broads different times. They always have some other lead girl. This is just such a phenomenal like throwback to big band, throwback to that old sound. I love anything like New Orleansy, creepy. I've talked about it before. There's a bunch of stuff on here that's similar to that.
Yeah, check that out because I only know the couple of songs they played on the radio.
So like Jimbo Mathis is the lead guy, and he's still really active. He does a bunch of stuff. He's been doing stuff with like Andrew Bird, and Andrew Bird was in Squirrel Nut somewhere along the line for a minute.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, that Jimbo Mathis is worth checking out his solo stuff. And then this is very fun. I don't know. I just dig stuff like this. That old sound, creepy New Orleansy kind of style, big band, anything like that's right up my alley. So this was one of mine that I'm like, all right, Squirrel Nut, it's great. Probably if you've never listened to them, check out they have like a greatest hits. It's probably the best way to go, but this one is very fun.
I will check them out.
Yeah.
I mean, just to interject, but man, Cleveland is giving it to the Twins right now. Love it.
They're on a roll. Aren't Cleveland on a roll?
They are on a roll. They've already taken over first place.
Yep.
They're going to extend their lead.
Yeah, none of us had Cleveland at the beginning of the year, did we?
Oh, I had them finishing 4th.
Yeah, it's still a long season.
It's still long.
The Reds swept them earlier.
Yeah.
They're playing good ball.
Yeah, so Kate, I'm going to check that one out as well.
It's so fun. I don't know if you have to. That's a very acquired taste kind of thing, but if you're into big band or swing, like that, really, like remember in the 90s when swing kind of picked up again, and that fits in that. Yes, that fits in that bucket of, like that's all the like rockabilly. They're not rockabilly. They're definitely like in the swing big band, but that all to me is in that same kind of scope of time that came back to relevancy, I guess.
Yeah, and like ska was having a rejuvenation.
Yeah, ska really did pick up again. Yeah. They're worth checking out. I like anything with horns. So if it's anything from ska, like any reggae with horns, Squirrel Nut Zippers is big with horns, and then like I don't know, anything with horns always catches my ear.
Well, I'd like to think I heard of something from them.
You've 100% you've heard Hell. You've probably heard. Oh man, I'm trying to think of a couple of their other big hits. For sure, you've heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will check it out.
Very fun. The lead singer, the lead guy that's like stuck with it, because there's all these different. Like every time I see him, it's like a handful of kind of rotating people in and out because it's a big band. But every time I see him, Jimbo Mathis is just one of those dudes who's just so much fun. He's like such a caricature of a human when he's on stage, and he has this like big stage persona that he does. So it's fun. If they come to your town, you should see them. Yeah. Just for the live show. They're awesome. But yeah, I'll let you go. Number 6.
All right. No, that's great. Yeah, because I mean, I'm going to talk about something we've all talked about before, and probably we'll talk about again. Another person who left Black Sabbath and everything stacked against them being anything successful, and yet they came out with an album that just blew us all away, and that's Ozzy.
Yep.
Such an important album. I put this one ahead of Dio just because, I mean, I like them both so much. I mean, I've listened to the heck out of both of them, but I put Ozzy because he was obviously ahead, and I think Ozzy's career has been much more sustained.
Randy, man, what can you say about Randy? Man?
Yeah,
if he was still alive, I think they would be debating on him or Eddie being the best. I think if he was.
There's and I actually a guitar player from my band actually auditioned for Ozzy's first band it's kind of interesting how that all just happened. I mean, it was just pure, like everything just fitting together perfectly.
Fell into place, man.
I mean, Ozzy could have gone in so many different directions, and I don't know exactly who made the call to put Randy in there. And
it was actually Dana Strum.
Dana Strum.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, who actually said, "Hey, yes, that's the guy we want"? But you're right, Dana Strum is really, really involved in that whole process, finding guitar player for that first album. But there were a lot of guys that auditioned.
George Lynch.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they didn't like.
Did Strum find Brad Gillis too?
Well, Brad Gillis came in after.
Yeah, I don't know that he was part of that original audition.
I mean,
no, I'm talking about did he originally find?
No,
Brad
he didn't
Gillis?
audition that first time.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
talking about eventually.
When my friend went to audition, Gary Moore was actually there and kind of running.
He was a consideration.
So he kind of felt like after he left, he's like, yeah, they really like this guy, this Gary Moore guy, and he didn't even really know who he was. So, but obviously it wasn't Gary Moore. So there you go, Ozzy. You don't need to say anything more about him. So,
thank you,
Brad. Ozzy, we hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, big surgery.
Yeah,
Brad, thank you for picking that because again,
yeah, I had to. I kind of felt like, oh, guys, so many of these are just like we've talked about them. I'm not going to mention them.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, I have to because that is a top 10 debut album. So.
And he knows how to find guitarists too, don't he? Jakey Lee.
Yeah, he sure does.
Wild, man.
And also, I was reading today. Someone posted it. I think it was Mark Alden Taylor put out there that the new Ozzy single comes out on Friday.
Oh, cool!
There's a new single by Ozzy coming out on Friday, which I'm excited for because I loved "Ordinary Man." I thought it was fantastic. So hopefully he's still in the same reign.
Yeah.
My number 6 was produced by Rick Ocasek of the Doors, of the Cars. Car Doors. No, Cars. And
can I guess this?
Yeah.
Weezer.
The Blue Album. Love Weezer.
So good.
Great album.
Albums are colored albums. I saw them on this tour. I saw them in 94, 96. I've seen them about 6 times now.
Wow.
You know, with that being said, I have not liked the last 6 albums by Weezer. They just completely made a 180 and turned too pop for me. But they are up to album number 15. So the first 9 I love.
I think this year they were releasing albums like every season. Like winter, spring, summer, fall.
Yeah, they're following that, but I don't know. They're just not hitting for me. And believe me, I try to force myself, especially for
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. They're this latest stuff. This last 10, 15 years of them hasn't really appealed to me.
Yeah.
I thought they did a great version of Africa, though.
But that was a good album.
And that brought him back on the radio because that song got played on the radio constantly. When it came out.
That album, they do a great cover of "Everybody Wants to Rule the World." It's fantastic, but they kind of slipped when they tried to do "Paranoid." It didn't work out that well.
Yeah,
and "Take on Me" that wasn't very good either. I didn't really care for that version. But.
Yeah.
Oh, what now?
They did "Take on Me" too on that album.
Yeah, they did, and this was their last one that I was really into. This was like in 2014. So they released 6 albums in a short period of time, but just not appealing to me. But let's go through these songs. I saw them in a little club. For a while there, every show was starting with "My Name is Jonas." No one else. The world has turned and left me here. Of course, we all remember the Buddy Holly video with the Happy Days and all that good stuff. Undone, the Sweater song. You flip it. You got Surf Wax America. You'll take your car to work. I'll take my board. Say It Isn't So. Holiday, and it ends with a great 8 minutes of Only in Dreams. Just a great pop rock grunge epic song. It sounds great, but that's going to be my number 6.
All right. And Andy, pick one song you want me to listen to off that album.
Oh yeah, sure, of course. Go ahead and go with go with The World Has Turned and Left Me Here.
I'd say In the Garage too.
In the Garage.
Okay.
Well,
I'm gonna go with Al's choice because he's never steered me wrong.
well, you know what? Now that Al said that is a better song.
Of course it is.
He names check, and he does name check Peter Criss and Ace Frehley on there.
They
as
do
well.
name check them in there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always listen to like Al recommendations when I'm walking down my neighborhood, out for my exercise, and I've got earbuds in, and so I probably like talking to myself, like, "Geez, Al's right again," and my neighbors are like, "Who's Al?"
Real quick, man. Kate messaged me the other day, and she was saying that this album was really great.
I was like, hey, that dust is pretty sweet, man.
I gotta check that out. I got it on my list. I put it on my phone.
It's on
Brad,
Spotify.
you know about that, right?
I found it on Spotify and was like, damn, they're pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Brad,
I found it on Apple.
Right? Brad, do you know about Dust?
Yeah.
No. Who?
Dust.
Dust?
Dust.
No, tell me about what's the name of the album?
Well, they had 2 albums. Dust, the self-titled, and then Hard Attack. HARD Attack.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's Mark Bell, who later went on to become Marky Ramone.
Okay.
Drummer on that album.
Yeah,
And Kenny Aronson is
yep, I know Kenny Aronson.
yeah, who produced the first 2 Kiss albums. Okay, they were a trio, and they had 2 albums, and heavy as shit, kind of like early proto metal, like after Sabbath.
All right.
So check them out, man.
All right.
Kate,
I'll be walking down my street listening to Dust.
Kate was raving about it, so I'm glad.
I'll go, and this time I'll say Kate and Al were both right about this.
It was good. It was suggested from Al, and I checked it out, and I can vouch for it.
Thank you,
Okay. All right. Number 5.
Jerry. Right?
Yep.
Sure.
Is it Andy?
No, I just did Weezer.
But,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we already talked about this one. It's like Al said, man. I mean,
Come on,
top to
I can't
bottom,
go
great
wrong.
songs. We didn't talk about Brad Delp, but what a great voice he had. Talk about
Yes.
a marriage made in heaven was Tom Schultz's guitar and Brad Delp's voice.
Yes,
I mean,
he tends to get forgotten a little bit, but dude, he's should be right up there in the Mount Rushmore of vocalists,
he
man.
should be, man. And I once saw him with their new singer a few years ago. They still sound good. He's got a good band with them, but fucking Brad was just total. I got to see Brad in the Third Stage tour, for him in the late '80s, and it was he's just great live too, man. Definitely was a loss when he died.
I got to see them with Brad as well.
It's sad, man, how he died too. It's just
Committed
totally
suicide, man.
unnecessary. Yeah,
It sucks. It sucks. Depression just sucks, dude.
yeah.
I mean, you think these guys like
Have it all.
they're legends, man, and just like they're just not happy, man. It just sucks, dude. Anyway, what was it 5?
I mean, from top to bottom, More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Foreplay,
Yes.
Long Time, Rock and Roll Band, Smokin', Hitch a Ride, Something About You, Let Me Take You Home Tonight. Every one of those songs is on the radio. I mean, today still. I mean, fucking just
They are.
great. Oh, man, great fucking music. Excuse me. But anyway, that's my number. What was that? 5?
That's such a really fun album. I'm surprised I didn't put it in my top 10.
I mean, their first 3 albums, I mean, just incredible, just incredible.
Yeah, that Don't Look Back is really good. I
Yeah.
love Don't Look Back.
And that was supposedly rushed. Just imagine if you had more time to spend on it, how even better.
Well, it came out 2 years after the debut, 78, and then every
First
album,
was like 10 years.
album after that was pretty much a decade
But,
or 8 years.
Tom Schultz, man, freaking just a legend, man. Brilliant musician.
I got to see Boston one tour where Michael Sweet was touring with them.
Yeah.
From Striper. again, man, he was great too, man. He was playing guitar and singing, and
That's why Brad couldn't really hit the high notes that much anymore. I think that's why they had Michael there, wasn't it?
Well, no, this was after Brad died already.
Oh, it was? Okay. I think he with him for a little bit with Brad?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. But when I saw them with Michael Sweet, Brad was already gone.
Yeah, they had this phenomenal female.
Yes, bass player too, right? Is she bass player?
And she is just incredible, man.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole band. I mean, well, he's not going to pick, bottom of the line musicians are just, incredible. He's got the guy that played in Sammy Hagar's band. I can't remember his name. It's
Gary Peel.
Yeah. Great guitarist. I think didn't Sid Haitian pass away a few years ago?
Yeah, he just passed. Yeah, he passed away.
He was a good drummer.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's mine. It's a great record.
Yeah, it really is.
I got to see Sid Haitian. Actually, when I saw Deep Purple, there was oh shit, man, probably over a decade ago already. They did a tour where they were touring with an orchestra, and the opening band was a band called Ernie and the Automatics, and it was guys that were in the original Boston band.
Oh wow!
And Sid was the drummer, and they were doing the only problem is they had some original material, right? And I think they only played half hour opening or something, and they did then they did a medley of Boston songs, because I think
was Barry Goodrow with them?
There was some. What's that?
Was Barry Goodrow with them?
Yes.
Wow, that would have been awesome to see.
But there was some legality or some shit. They couldn't play full Boston songs. I think Tom Scholz would have seen.
Yeah, he's pretty. He's a stickler with this.
So they had to save it as the last. They had to do a medley, and where they did
do parts,
songs, but truncated to kind of get around that legality, I guess. I don't know why, but it was still kind of cool to hear some of the original guys, doing that stuff. So anyway, my number 5 is Bang That Head That Doesn't Bang. Game changer right here.
Oh, yeah.
This consumed my life when I was in high school. Actually junior high, because this album was 83. So I didn't actually listen to this album until after. See, I discovered Metallica with Ride the Lightning. It was between Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. So sometime late 85 when I discovered him through my older brother's friend who brought over Ride the Lightning, and he played it, and I was blown away. I went back and I got this, and I was even more blown away. I was like, dude, this album is raw, but it's rocks. It's just something I've never heard before in my life. And I'm not going to go through the songs. You already did it, Jerry. But this is another game changer. I mean, it just changed the game of metal, introduced a whole new genre of thrash. And they're arguably the biggest metal band in the world,
Yeah, I would probably say they are, even though they've kind of declined.
Not even the biggest metal band or the biggest band in the world.
Yeah. At one time, I think they were, definitely.
Yeah, so. But I'm not going to dwell time on it because it's, it's been talked about a million times already. But Callum Wall is my number 5.
Kate, you're number 5.
So I went with Rodriguez Cold Fact. And if you guys have seen the documentary called Searching for Sugar Man, that's his debut album. I highly, highly, highly recommend watching that film if you have not seen it. It's one of the best music docs I've ever seen. He's a local Detroit native. He has this incredible story that he had no fame in the U.S. This album came out in 1970. Kind of a psych folk rock album. No fame in the US, but then it gets just picked up, and for some reason in South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, it all gets picked up. So I highly recommend checking this out. If you're into psych rock at all, it's very, very good. And then definitely watch the documentary Searching for Sugar Man, because it's a feel-good story. I don't know. It's a good story. You guys would have to check it out. I don't want to spoil it because I could talk more about it, but you should watch it without knowing anything about him. I think it's fun because that's how I saw it. Searching for Sugar Man is the name of the documentary, and then the album is called Cold Fact by Rodriguez. So I always look at that. I don't know if you guys ever use that Just Watch. Just Watch is great to find out where everything's streaming.
I just started doing that. Just Watch.
That website's the bomb. Let me look. I can tell you right this second that it's going to be Searching for Sugar Man came out in 2012, and then it's streaming. You can get it for like $3 on Amazon, $3 on Vudu, Google Play, YouTube. So if you watch it and you hate it, I will give you the $3. So I don't want to spoil it. I want you to watch it. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but definitely well worth the time. And the album itself is awesome. I don't have a copy of that. I have a copy of his second album, but even the second album is great too.
Yeah, and when that documentary came out, I think he also came out, or he did or they had something on 60 Minutes about it.
Yeah.
It was either that or 2020.
Yeah, it's like just this guy that, I'm born and raised right outside of Detroit, and I'd never heard of him until I saw that documentary. And I was like, holy shit, this is like such a amazing hidden figure that, I mean, he's phenomenal. That whole album, start to finish, is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brad,
Highly recommend.
Rodriguez. Number 5, Brad.
Okay, number 5 is Black Sabbath, self-titled, for obvious reasons, and we already talked about it. So yeah, great album. Not my most listened to Black Sabbath album, but I've played every song off that album. So that's something. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
Nice.
Go on, Al. Were you gonna say something?
No. That's hey, listen.
Yeah, we've talked about the Black
Sabbath. Another game changer.
Yep. Okay.
Al talked about this one, but I'm going to elaborate just a little bit more. Doors, debut album. It's dude, it's just great from beginning. Break on through the other side. Soul Kitchen, just Soul Kitchen. When you're thinking of like any Vietnam War era movie or like Forrest Gump, you just know that tune and that beat. 20th Century Fox, Alabama Song, Light My Fire, a great track where the keyboards, the guitar, interlude with each other, kind of makes you think of Deep Purple when Deep Purple started to get heavy. Backdoor Man, I guess Al did say all this, but the end is just a great track. You can't get over the end.
That's a great epic.
It's kind of like Unknown Soldier. That'll be on the next album.
They had like a huge epic pretty much on every album.
Yeah, with Riders on the Storm being on the LA Woman.
So good.
That epic. Yeah.
They have I don't know if you guys like that Dirty Jobs guy, Micro.
Mm-hmm.
He does this podcast. It's like short ones, but it's podcast called And That's the Way I Heard It. So it's kind of like that, and that's the rest of the story, if you guys remember that, but it's like a modern version of that. But he does a really good one on Jim Morrison that they kind of attribute like Morrison's dad to the start of Vietnam. So if you look into that history, I mean, it's really interesting that he kind of made the call to Congress and everything.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you got to check it out. I'm trying to think of what's the I cannot think today because I'm on all these like goofy meds for my sinus infection, but the it started in the 1C, and they had we were thinking that there was like enemy ships coming in, and then they made a call, and it's like, oh, fire on them, and that opened up to the whole like Vietnam War. But if you check out, I'll try and send it to you guys in the chat that it's that's the way I heard it. I'll find which episode it is, but they're usually only like 10 or 15 minutes, but they're really fun. I mean, he's good about like researching all this random history, and then you hear this little snippet about it where they attribute like the start of Vietnam to Hendrix or to Jim Morrison's dad. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I never heard that. Yeah, that's something to look into.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing that I was thinking about when you guys were talking about the Doors album.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Brad Jerry number
Jerry
4.
number 4.
Number 4.
I'm up.
Yep.
Yeah, number 4.
Yeah, I messed us all up by talking.
Okay.
That's all
Talked about
right.
this one before. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the production made it cost $5. It sounds like it's not a very good produced record, but all the songs on it are awesome. I mean, Remember Tomorrow, Phantom of the Opera, Prowler, what else? Charlotte the Harlot, the song Iron Maiden itself. The only album that had Dennis Stratton on it. And it's we talked about earlier. Don't want to spend too much more time on it, but definitely a solid debut.
Oh, it is.
And you can see by the back, I'm really a big Iron Maiden fan.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Wait, what?
Yes, sir.
so that's mine.
All right. So this guy, another game changer here, pretty much turned everybody, you know, like to this, saying like, what the fuck is this guy doing on guitar? You know, took the guitar to a whole other level. And it's got to be this guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you experienced?
Jimmy.
I mean, this is like game changer as well. He just showed everybody, like, he rewrote the book. Look at that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, which is a cover, right?
Yeah.
Love or Confusion, May This Be Love, I Don't Live Today. The Wind Cries Mary, one of my favorite songs by him. I love that song. Fire, Third Stone from the Sun, another great one. Foxy Lady, Are You Experienced? I mean, you hear half of these songs on rock radio still to this day. But Jimi Hendrix Experience, man. I mean, this guy was heavy, you know. He was doing shit on guitar like nobody was doing, you know. And I mean, everybody just studies this 3 albums that he did when he was alive to this day.
Yeah.
Just you know, I mean, what else can you say about Jimmy, dude? Jimmy's Jimmy. You don't listen to Jimmy, you hear Jimmy. To quote White Man
Can't Jump.
Real Jimmy, yeah.
Ain't no way Jimmy had a white rhythm section.
It's Mitchell, man.
That's just a picture.
Yeah. What a great movie, man.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that was a really good movie.
Yeah, but Jimmy, man, love Jimmy. I've always have. You know, he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of guitar players.
Oh, not number 1.
You know, so.
And it's more than just his album releases. His live albums are just, man, just
his live stuff is just
blows everything out of the water. You're like, dude, no freaking way, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, it's when people ask you, like, what's your dream concert, living or dead, anytime? And that's always going to be mine. Is 1969, New Year's Eve, Fillmore East. The set they put out is called Songs for the Groovy Children. But, I mean, I can't even fathom being at that show. They're just, like...
Yeah.
Think of all the albums that they put out for Hendrix that I have, like... a dozen albums.
Yeah.
They're not even not even studio albums. Like, and how many posthumous and how many live recordings? Like,
that just goes to show you that he pretty much lived in the studio and just was constantly recording stuff. And you know,
mean, just and someone to figure out, like, I remember hearing a story about Hendrix, like maybe it was dusty. Like one of the guys from ZZ Top like walks into his like green room and he's like sawing off part of his
Guitar.
yeah,
It
and
would
they're
be
like, oh,
Bill
he's doing
Gibbons.
that so he can get into the like mid instead of it just being 3. He's like just stuff to think of that kind of brain, and he's only a kid. He's just a little baby.
It was probably Billy Gibbons because
Yeah.
Hendrix has gone on record saying that Billy Gibbons
that
was one of
sounds
his
right.
favorites.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And also,
I mean,
you know, I
he's
really
like-
don't dig that much posthumous.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't say that word, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do need to say that Jimi Hendrix family or his estate has done a
They
fantastic
do a good
job
job. Mhm.
in releasing
Mhm.
stuff.
yeah,
All
but
the
you know what? You know
all
what?
the things that they put out is like,
You know what? Before his estate like actually gained control of his output,
Yeah.
there was tons of like. I mean, his shit was all over the place, man.
Yeah.
there's so many boots and unofficials and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
There was a guy named Alan Douglas that was in charge of his estate before like his family was able to win the court case and take over. And not to say, I mean, there was a couple of things, posthumous things that he put out that were good, but he was taking other musicians and overdubbing stuff on there and stuff that shouldn't have been tampered with, you know, and doing shit to it that, you know, kind of just should have just left it alone, you know.
Right.
And then Jimmy's estate, when his family took over, they kind of restored it back to the original, you know, the way it should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what happened. So
Yeah, and it's just that sometimes when people take over musicians or bands that have died and taken over their music, they cheapen it.
yeah.
You know. But it's good to hear that Jimi Hendrix family
Yeah.
and his estate have really taken very good care of his name.
I've seen a bunch of those experienced Hendrix tours, and they're always really good and entertaining. A lot of great players on that. You know, I saw Mitch Mitchell on one, and then like a month later he was gone. You know.
Yeah. Oh wow.
He had passed, and I remember when he came out, and he was drumming, and you could tell like there was no fire in his playing. There was like, you know, he was not himself, because Mitch Mitchell's a pretty fiery drummer, dude. You guys know, you know, the guy was like a Keith Moon, like all over the place, you know, and he was a shell of his former self. You could just kind of look at him and say like, you know, his time is limited, you know. And a month later, it was like a month or two later, he passed. So I consider myself fortunate saying that I saw him live at least.
Right, that's awesome.
But
Yeah.
Kate, right?
Number 4.
Ooh, number 4. You guys know how this is. The last 5 are always tough ones. It's always hard. This is probably one of my favorite albums of all time, and I feel like it's another one of those like weird, off the wall kind of game changer if you get into that genre. But I went with Violent Femmes, self-titled, 1983. It's one of my favorite bands. I've seen them live a few times. They're always phenomenal live. They bring this energy that's like, it's hard to describe, but if you've seen them or you know them and how they play, and I mean, you know, a band that can have like a 6-minute xylophone solo.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird, but it's like, holy shit, these guys can play. The one time I saw the drummer get off of his kit and he goes and he's playing like a Weber grill. So
That's funny.
They do some weird stuff, but seriously, this album, like everyone's heard Blitzer in the Sun. So that's where that kicks off. I mean, just like Kiss Off, Please Do Not Go, Add It Up. And then there's like a few I feel like people probably don't know, where it's like Confessions and Prove My Love. Then you have Gone Daddy Gone, and like it ends with Gimme the Car. And Gimme the Car is like this like low, growly, bizarre sounding song. So you kick off from the top, like Blister in the Sun, such an upbeat, and everyone knows it, everyone's heard it, it's still on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ends in this really bizarre, like sinister, growly sounding song. But yeah, I don't know, start to finish, that one is such a killer set of tracks, and it's definitely one of my top favorite bands of all time.
And Gone Daddy Gone is a crazy story.
It's such a weird, yeah. Well, and they write some weird stuff because it's not on this album, but like on their third album. So I think it's Violent Femmes 3, and that one, they have one called "See My Ships," and it's like talking about Marvin Gaye getting shot by his father. And they have all these weird, like, based in true story things happening.
Yeah, they really get into the imageries of their storytelling and their songwriting.
Yeah. Well, and they'll have something that's really super upbeat and fun, and then it gets super dark. So they have that like diametric thing going on all the time. That's like, wait a minute, what? We were just listening to like a weird. If you look up the background of what Blister in the Sun is about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I just dig bands like that. I like really weird stuff, and they're just a trip to see live.
And I think they're out of Minnesota, aren't they?
I don't know.
I've always heard that Chrissy Hines discovered them.
Yeah, I don't know.
From the Pretenders.
Where they started out, yeah. I don't know. I've seen them here and in Chicago. I don't know why in my brain I was thinking they were a Chicago band, but they might be Minnesota. I'd have to look.
I think they are.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a really good band. Brad, number 4.
Okay, number 4 is a band that I heard a lot about them in the 70s. They were playing a lot of parties in our neighborhood. And yeah, and I don't know how this album got ahead of Black Sabbath, but it did. Probably because I listened to it a lot more than the first Black Sabbath album. Had a lot more fun listening to it. Let's put it that way. Yep. And so it's Van Halen, their first album. Yeah. When that thing came out, again, it was like
have that on the list.
It was like, wow, yeah. And I don't know. At the time, I was kind of like, yeah, these guys aren't that good. I mean, they're, when you're a kid and they're kind of like,
You were very naive, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's like
they weren't Kiss, right, Brian?
There's more jealousy than anything. It's like, how did these guys get signed? And but I love the album, and I think it's a fantastic album, front to back, and it's, as Al says, it's a game changer. So there you go.
Yep. There's that word again, and it is with Eddie's guitar. I mean, no one had heard anything like that at that time. It was crazy.
It's like Jimmy 10 years before him.
Yeah. So there you go.
Mine is going to be this one here. Pro Jam 10. This has the remastered
remix, I think.
Redux. Yeah, the Redux thing.
Yeah, and the Redux.
Yeah, I had a copy of that.
With the remix of it. Great album, man. When this came out, it was another game changer with everything else. I'm sorry, what else?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry said, excuse me. He is coughing.
This was just, I mean, when Pro Jam came out, I was all about Pro Jam. On cassette in my car, everywhere I went. That Versus came out, Vitology came out. I was there to get it that day. I've seen them a couple of times. I've seen them once here in Houston. And then me and my buddy traveled to the New Orleans Jazz Fest to go see them out there. And the thing is that they played early at the Jazz Fest, so they hit the stage like around 4. So it's perfect to see them during the sun and during the sunset. And we got there early. We didn't move to go get any beer because we were on the second row from the front.
Don't move.
We did not move. We didn't care. Had to go to the bathroom.
Just pee in your pants, man.
I'll go later. I'll give a damn. So, yeah, that was a fun show, and I'm a big fan of Pearl Jam. The last album was great.
Yeah.
So that's my number 4 is Pearl Jam 10. Jerry, we're going to top 3 already.
Getting to the nitty gritty now, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is a band who is definitely a shell of its former self, but there was a run in the 70s where they couldn't be touched. Kiss's debut.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this probably not their best album, but man, this album, is pretty much featured on Kiss Alive, which is like my favorite Alive album.
Dude, there's so many classics on that they do.
There is, yeah. I mean, they did some like Black Diamond. I like the double platinum version better, but I wish they would have. They got what's that song? Love Theme from Kiss.
Yeah.
It was actually called. What was it called?
Acrobat.
They should have made that version on the record because I heard that version on YouTube and it kicks ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I was around, I just imagine the shock of seeing this. You know what I mean? How different it was back then. Of course, freaking Ace Frehley, man, God.
Yeah.
Like I said, they are a shell of their former selves now, and I kind of wish they would, just out of their misery. But there's no doubt that they had a run, and they were probably the best band in the world at one time. And
man, that's a great album cover too, for something so simple but says so much.
Yeah, I don't understand Pete. I think Pete wanted to go through, or he got a professional or something to come in and do his makeup or something, and it's just
yeah.
This is
kind of like an homage to the Beatles, Meet the Beatles. So
yeah,
but like I said, this is the kickstart of a great run of albums by Kiss. Yeah. That's mine.
And then maybe isn't Van Halen's OU 812 also an homage to that?
Yes.
Kind of picture as well.
Yeah, the black and white.
Yeah, the black and white,
the black background. Yeah, so many bands have done homage.
I've done that homage.
So many.
It's such an iconic album cover,
It is. They do homage to one of the best.
Yeah.
Number 3, Al.
Okay, so when this album came out, I mean, pretty much like I would call this a game changer as well. Everybody stood up and took notice of, just like, who is this band? Pretty fucking heavy for their time. And that's Zeppelin's debut.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And no album sounded as good as this probably in that era. Maybe except maybe the Beatles, but I mean, the production values, man. Jimmy Page, we talked about this on another podcast about he doesn't get name checked much about being a producer, but his production, man, on these albums made him some of the best sounding albums of the era.
Yeah,
that still stand up today and sound fresh.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and all his remasters, because that's all those releases that we're getting now. Those are all Jimmy Page remasters. They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
They sound so good.
I mean, it opens up with Good Times, Bad Times. So it's such a banging opener, and ends with like one of my favorites, How Many More Times. Communication Breakdown, arguably could be a proto-punk, proto-metal, Your Time Is Going to Come. Dazed and Confused, obviously. They actually did Dazed and Confused in the Yardbirds previously. There's an earlier version called I'm Confused, but I think it's taken from another older song too. I can't remember the artist, but they plagiarized quite a bit. They took liberties.
But they made it their own now in a way. So it was cool.
Yeah, it's like they took the old blues artists, just amplified it and regurgitated it as just heavy,
Especially the first album,
Yeah, but then, like, when that stuff was coming, I mean, like, when I first was getting to Zeppelin, I didn't know who those other blues guys were. This was all new for me. I didn't know.
It's cool, man, because
I don't care. I love it.
A lot of, I went back and listened to Robert Johnson because of these guys,
Mm-hmm.
Willie Dixon, he was on there too doing something. He's another great blues guy,
And again, this is courtesy of my older brother. My older brother's favorite band was Zeppelin. So, being a kid and having him come home with a Zeppelin album and, you know, the whole thing of like putting it on the turntable, looking at the album covers, all that really ingrained it in my DNA. Zeppelin became such a big part of my youth, my childhood, you know, that like I know like these albums inside out, man.
Yeah.
From listening to them so much.
It's the best band in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Always will be.
So first Zeppelin album, it's got to be, and it's number 3, you know.
But if it wasn't for Zeppelin and Cream, we wouldn't know who Willie Dixon, and
Yeah.
Robert Johnson,
All those old
They would
guys.
be a big part of the rock and roll
Oh yeah.
genre that we enjoy, because we've gone back to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We've gone back to hear where did that come from, you know. So
I mean, you know, and Zeppelin seems to get targeted, you know, a lot with that. But all those bands, all those English bands did it, man.
yeah,
Yeah, look at the Beatles. That's like half of their first 3 albums are all
Yeah.
covers. Like
Yeah. So
they all did that.
Little
that's-
Richard, all that stuff.
That's a good homage to like bring these guys, especially black artists at the time. Like
Exactly.
that's bringing them into the light. That's a huge thing that so many people would have no idea who any of those guys are. All
Exactly.
that music would be lost to the ages, because that's like Clapton just went around the country and was finding all these guys before they died and was trying to get recordings or like at least get the music or find somebody in their family to get whatever. Like, I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big honor that all these bands were stealing their music.
Yeah.
Because then that's bringing it to all of us to know those guys. Like,
Yeah, I think Clapton did one called Robert Johnson and Me.
the Robert Johnson stuff is just yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't know. We would not know.
Yeah, I wish they didn't. You know, I wish, you know how people like to just have something to hate on a band for.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really wish they wouldn't do that, because it's not like they stole it. They give credit to these people. You know, it comes out one way or another that the credit gets delivered somehow. But just knowing who those guys are, like, especially that time, like not far into like all the different race riots and different stuff going on in the US, like that's pretty big deal.
And like all these people complaining about it, I'm pretty sure that when they put on Zeppelin, they go, "Hey, wait a minute, that's Willie Dixon. Come on, man."
Well, and that's like the Beatles were like, can anyone name for like the first 3 albums? Half the album is all covers. It's like no one knows who any of those guys are. Like we do, but yeah, everyone else thinks that's an OG. That's like Elvis or Beatles or anyone who's super huge, that people automatically assume that's their song. And it's like, no, there's so many artists that's not their song. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. All right. I cut you off, Al. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. You can go ahead.
Oh, all right. My number 3. So I've talked about it before. We did this. I don't even remember when we talked about this. I did John Prine. This is his debut album. My light's making it hard to see, but John Prine's debut album, a lot of people end up calling it like Hay Bales because it's just a self-titled. I'm huge on the folk singer-songwriters. I'm huge on the outlaw dudes. John Prine kind of, I've talked about it where he like kind of skirts the edge of the outlaw guys, where I feel like it's not Willie or Waylon or those guys, but he's like on the periphery with like Chris Christopherson or like Steve Goodman and those guys, because they were really close. But I mean, this comes out, it's 1971 when this comes out. He's 25. He's not far out of being home from Vietnam. I mean, just someone who can tell a story in a song that it's like, how are you so prescient at 25? Like my brain still now is mush bucket, and I couldn't imagine writing any of these songs. And then he's 25, like a little baby, writing these amazing songs.
It's amazing how some people just have that natural.
Oh
gift,
man,
really
they
is.
just like, as someone who's such a wordsmith that.
Yeah.
You know, like Dylan and guys like that are all in that spectrum of like, they're just so good with words. You assume that they've read like thousands and thousands of books and things to just have all these words right in there that they can pull it out like that. But I wanted to talk about, since you guys mentioned, I just got this in the mail. So I was like, you guys mentioned last albums, because that's like one of my favorite albums of all time is his first album, and then his last album's called Tree of Forgiveness, and he did that when he's 71. That was in 2008. We lost him to COVID in 2020, but first and last album on his, like, if you're going to check out any of his catalog, please, please, please check those out, because they're just, I don't know, even at the end of his life, like, well, and it wasn't the end of his life then. He still was playing and doing live stuff and everything, and then he got sick with COVID and died, but even towards the end of his career, I should state it that way, I feel like, that he's still so brilliant and so sharp. Yeah, I don't know. And that's even the one behind me. I forgot I had this. Yeah. This is his Prine Live. So if you listen to any of his live stuff, he has all these really like sweet, charming stories. Like Leo Kottke is a lot like that. Like he plays and then he'll stop and he tells a story about the song. So highly recommend checking him out. Yeah.
You know, under your recommendation, I have heard that his
this first album.
Solo album, yeah. And it is really good. And I do need to hear it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the one you talked about a couple weeks ago, Nick Drake.
Oh man. That's his parting gift to the world. Nick Drake's third and final album.
Yeah. I heard that on the way to work because it's a nice little 28-minute album.
It's a short, yeah. Short and sweet, and when you listen to it and realize that he ended up taking his own life, then you really hear like this deep, But that, I mean, that Nick Drake album's so good. Yeah. I don't know if you guys check this out. Check out. There's so many good songs on this, but Illegal Smile, it's a cute, funny stoner song. Spanish Pipe Dreams, a sweet, like, romance song. If you want your gut punched in and you want to cry, you listen to Sam Stone. So Sam Stone is like one of those songs. That's where this is like blows my mind of how good and how thoughtful he was as a songwriter. But anyway, I'll stop rambling. I'll let you go. Brad, number 3.
Mine's going to be really quick because it's the same number 3 that Jerry picked. Yes. Yeah, their first album. That album just personally for me, these first 3 albums for me are just real personal. Yeah. I've told the story before. A guy when I was a freshman in high school in '74 gave me that album to listen to. These guys were giving me all kinds of albums, so they gave me that. And when I dropped the needle on that, I was like, okay, I'm all in on this. Yeah. And that's how I learned to play bass, was playing along with that album.
And Gene had some badass bass lines back in the day.
Yeah,
I don't want to way in the 80s, but his 70s bass stuff was amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, the funny thing is, and I've told this story too, that it took me a while to figure out that they were tuned down half step. So I was like, wait a second, how are they? That's notes too low for this instrument. But yeah, great album. So, and huge for me. So there you go, number 3.
I agree.
My next 3 have already been mentioned by y'all, but I am going to hit on them. Number 3, Hendrix. Are You Experienced? Just that album cover alone, man.
Yeah.
You know, just the color of it all. These 3 dudes kick ass. You know, I'm not going to go over it too much because Al pretty much covered it. But, you know, these songs are just like you said, half of them are played on the radio, or we know word for word or note for note. Jimi Hendrix, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experienced? The one everyone's been talking about, the excitement of Jimi Hendrix. I love the color. You know, just imagine going through the albums back then and going, whoa, wait a minute. Who are these cats? You know? So, yeah, that's my number 3.
Number 2, huh?
Number 2.
This is really a no-brainer. I actually had a fight between this one and my number 1, but man, you know how they make little like figures of people that like Kiss and make little action figures of them. I wish they would do one of these 4 right here. These are some
There's probably a
badass
pop
pictures.
character or something. I bet you.
There's one
I'm
of
sure.
Eddie, I think.
Yeah.
These are some badass pictures. This is a badass. Look at the fucking back of Gabe. He's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, that dude.
Running with the Devil, you really got me. Jamie's crying, on fire. Little Dreamer, Feel Your Love Tonight. Underrated song, great song. Atomic Punk. What else?
I love Atomic Punk.
Ice Cream Man, another one. I was on that one. Yeah. Man, just great. They just came out in the time of punk, or not punk, but disco, and kind of really helped contribute to the end of disco. But I think Gene Simmons tries to take credit for this band. I don't know how much of that's true or not, but if so, thank you, Gene, because man, this album.
Oh, well, he said he discovered them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They were all over the place.
Yeah.
They were playing it everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
But that's mine.
That's a great album. Running with the Devil is like the greatest album opener.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, you can't play that loud enough. It's like you always need to crank it up more.
Right.
Oh, just the guitar. Oh my gosh. I love the way the guitar is panned. He's got Eddie panned all the way to the one side. But yet it works and it just sounds so good. There's very few overdubs on there.
That was Ted Templeman. And he took that model from the Eddie wanted it. The band wanted it because they loved the first Montrose album, and which is produced the same way.
Yeah.
Which ironically, isn't it ironic that Sammy Hagar's on that album?
Yes,
But that first Montrose album, actually, man, that could be a good honorable mention, actually.
Yep.
And I didn't put it in my honorable mentions, but it should be. That first Montrose album is classic, man.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah, Sammy sounds so great. He was like 18 at the time.
Yeah, he was pretty young, man.
Yeah,
I think he was actually a lot older than that.
He was in his 19. He was in his 20s already.
Yeah, he'd been around. I don't know. You read his book.
My number 2. Again, it's a game changer. It started a whole new genre. And Sabbath's debut.
Yep.
I'm not gonna dwell on it because it's been talked about already. But like I said before, man, I mean, this has got to be one of the most atmospheric albums. I attribute it with watching The Exorcist, man. I mean, you could feel it. You could feel the chill. You could feel the atmosphere of the album, and the fact that it was recorded in 2 fucking days, man. It just, I don't know, it blows my mind how it, how the hell did they set it up, and how did Iommi get that guitar sound? It's always one of the big mysteries to me. And when I met him, I really should have asked him that, but in the back of my mind, I was so goddamn starstruck.
Right.
I was just rambling. Well, I kept my composure, but I was just rambling out, just whatever, man. It was like, hey, it's, you're an influence on me. I'm, playing guitar. You're the reason why I picked up, a guitar. Or one of the reasons, And I mean, Iron Man was the first song I ever learned how to play on guitar.
Oh wow!
But this album, man, I mean, you can't. I mean, okay, maybe it might not be the greatest album, but maybe it is. I don't know. I tend to listen to this album a lot, actually, and I just put myself in a mind frame of like 1969, 1970. It was nothing like this. I'm just trying to imagine like people hearing this for the first time. And just thinking like, what do they think, man? And there's that quote where Ozzy was saying that they used to rehearse across the street from a theater that showed horror movies, and he was saying people are paying money to go get the shit scared out of them. Yeah. So we can write music that way. You know what I'm saying? But debut, man, Sabbath. It's got to be. It's my number 2, and I'm with Jerry. It's kind of, and I'm sure I know what Jerry's number 1's going to be. So we're probably flip flopped, but
the simplicity of the music is just amazing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not tricky music to play, especially guitar wise, but it works and it sounds so great.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah, and shit, you can
master
put it on
of
now.
riffs, Tony.
It's the benchmark of like, you know, I to me, I still think the song Black Sabbath is the heaviest thing ever put down the tape, in my opinion. I mean, you could check all these Metallica and all these black metal bands and all this shit. I still think
it comes from that blueprint.
I still think that's the heaviest thing ever put down on a tape, man. You know, that the belling, the rain, the tolling bell, and just that tritone riff, that crushing. I mean, I don't know how the hell did they get that sound in that time. You know, that's incredible, man. So,
and this was done on a shoestring budget.
Yeah,
you know,
what did they spend? Like $500-$600?
I mean, it was shoestring.
You know, so yeah, it's so awesome. So that's my number 2.
And I remember Ozzy saying that he took it home to play it for his family. And his dad was like, what the hell is this? You know? He was all happy about it. They're like, the hell is this?
Go ahead, Kate.
Kate, number 2.
Imagine bringing that home and putting it on the hi-fi. And Dad sitting there with a scotch and a cigarette or a pipe. He's like, what in the hell is happening?
Whenever I listen to an album, that's the mindset that I try to think of, like 1970, putting this on the turntable for the first time. I mean, people probably bought it based on the album cover.
Yeah, it's just such a bizarre cover.
They're probably, what the F is this, man? You know? And
like,
I can imagine the shock value of that one too. Sorry, Andy.
Oh no! But what kind of traction did it get? Because you know that they didn't play it on the radio. Yeah. It has to be word of mouth,
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's a big underground scene forming just around that album. Yeah.
It's crazy how we've talked about this album so many times. And we
like every podcast,
and we keep adding to it. You know, we keep finding new stuff to talk about. Black Sabbath's debut album. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Jerry. I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I completely forgot. Like I said, I can imagine the shock value of seeing that on the record shelf. I was talking about Kiss's debut album.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Kiss would be a wild one that you see those faces like that.
Right.
With the makeup like that. Yeah. Nobody else had ever.
But then to have this ghostly looking woman in front of a cottage that already looks creepy to begin with. Yep. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Shock sells though.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kate.
Kate, number 2.
Well, a couple of you fellas already mentioned this one, but I'm gonna stick with the Hendrix.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard to beat this album. This is another one where it's someone who's freaking 24 going on 25. This came out in May of 67, so he's 24 because his birthday's in November. And
absolute genius.
How the hell does someone do this? Like I know I freak out about that every time, but I'm like,
sorry.
Oh,
I heard he opened for the Monkeys. Is that true?
Yep.
He did a bunch of.
Imagine seeing that.
He did. You got to look up like Google pictures of like clean cut Jimi Hendrix, like when he got out of the war, because he was like a bombardier. Yeah. And but there's pictures of him when he's like a little baby, like 18, 19, 20, and he's like clean cut in a suit doing backing for a bunch of different like blues and like
and Little Richard.
Yeah. It's wild. Could you imagine being a kid? Like he's just a little kid and he's playing with them, backing them. It just blows my mind. And thinking about all the different stuff that he could do, that he could play anything from any kind of classical stuff, like his Star Spangled Banner. And I mean, just all of it could be in his head and he could just pull it right out and put it on the strings and it just sounds phenomenal. And I don't know, I get so stoked. Hendrix is definitely like one of my favorite of all time best
that's right.
guitarist, you know.
Yeah.
And just for a personality and his talent and his like attitude towards music and everything, and like the vibe of like wanting to keep Sgt. Pepper's vibe alive, I love all his clothes and his style.
And still to this day, he's still very original.
Yeah, and just such an influential person too, that so many people, you know, how many kids pick up a guitar and they're like, wow, I really want to learn a Hendrix song, you know. And this cover is different. The UK cover is different looking. So that's that black cover that has the three of them and like kind of like a pyramid shape that says, "Are you experienced?" in white writing. I sold my copy of that. I had a copy of that, but the original UK cover looks a little different. So this one, imagine this dropping in the US and it's like psychedelic and he's got his like feather boa and this weird coat with eyes. So that's another album cover I feel like people would have seen in the US and been like, the hell is that?
Again, gone too soon, man. Imagine 20, 30 more years of Jimmy.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
If you can imagine Hendrix, if he stuck around, that's like Rhodes. That's like, you know, there's all these young people that
you just
like,
never know.
What could you have had from them in another 20 or 30? That's like someone who, you know, someone who plays that well, that's like long lived is like, I don't know, like B.B. King or someone, and you think about their career that they've, I don't know.
You know, speaking of Hendrix, if y'all watch Al's video of Paul McCartney, I forgot what song it was, but it went into Paul doing Jimi Hendrix. It goes into Foxy Lady, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and he does like a Hendrix jam.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that. I saw you post it. I was like, I need to watch this whole show.
And then after the song, he talks a little bit about Jimmy and about how they would run around London when they were all young together.
Yeah. He told a story about like when Sgt. Pepper came out on a Friday, and by Sunday, 2 days later,
Hendrix had it all.
Yeah, he had learned the whole thing. And he played it live.
Yeah. And they were there. Lennon and McCartney are there watching it. It's like, could you imagine dropping your album and someone memorized it in less than 48 hours?
Yeah, because I've heard Paul say that they would go to these clubs. I mean, the Beatles were already big in the late '60s, and him and John, and they would go to these little clubs, and they would see Clapton and Hendrix and Cream, and dude, all these bands, you know, just amazing at that time, you know. Brad, number 2.
Okay, number 2, and funny that you guys had actually just mentioned this. For me, this album was just unbelievably huge. I had no idea that it really was kind of an underground album, but it's Montrose, the first Montrose album.
Yes.
One of the first songs I learned to play was Rock Candy, and I thought it was like a big, huge song and had no idea. I mean, you never heard that stuff on the radio, but I played every song on that album. And I just love the whole band. The whole
Space Station
whole album. What's that?
Space Station number 5.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, man. Make it laugh.
Interesting. And you talk to a lot of musicians who are close to my age and find out that they all had this album as well, and it was hugely influential on them. Huge album for me personally. So great album. If you haven't, I've bought it, I don't know how many times now.
That was Sammy at his best too, singing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the whole band. And if you check out, like, there's some videos from them on the old Gray Whistle test after they did this album, and they are just blowing the place up. Go on YouTube and find that if you haven't seen it. And when I watch that, I'm like, that's what I want to do in music. I mean, I want to just play where everything's on the edge at every second. We're just jamming so hard.
So, how old was Sammy during Montrose then?
I don't know. I'll find out. I'll get back to you on that when we go for number 1.
Well, he's going to be 75 this year.
Okay. Right? Yeah. And it was released in 73.
So, he was like 24?
Yeah, that would be 24. Well,
26? 24?
25.
25, yeah.
Right.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, I know he'd done he'd done other things there, and he moved to the Bay Area to try to get things going, and
And my whole life has been a lie.
yeah, basically went and knocked on. He I think he saw an ad or something. I'll have to get his book out and read it again. How he met Ronnie Montrose, but he like answered an ad and went to his door and knocked on the door, and Ronnie said, "Well, come in," and he says, "Do you have any songs?" And so Sammy played him, but Bad Motor Scooter and all that stuff. And Ronnie's like, yeah, I want you and your songs. So, because Ronnie didn't really write a lot of songs back then. He really didn't write.
He was 26.
Damn.
Yeah, Ronnie didn't really write much in his early days. He'd just come out of the Edgar Winter group at that time. And if you listen to that album, which I love that album,
that's good.
I mean, Ronnie's very reserved in his playing on that album. Still great, but it's not like you don't see the fire that came out of him on this album. And, of course, live. So there you go. Montrose, number 2 for me.
Well, it's a good thing that I'm not the resident fact checker here, because who knows what I would say. All right. Number 2 has already been mentioned. In fact, it was just mentioned now by Jerry. It's going to have to be Van Halen 1. And I wanted to share these with you. We went to a little like a flea market, and this lady was making these paintings. I got that one of Eddie. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, and then I got this one of Bowie with tats on them. That cool. These were like $2 each. I just have to go buy little frames for $1 each. And then this Nirvana in a utero with a type of skeleton thing. But let's get back to look at that back.
I know. Fucking Dave.
Dude, master right there, man. No, I had it upside down. There we go. We've already talked about these songs. We've been using the name Game Changer a lot, but that's what happened with these songs. That's what happened with these albums. They really were. That's why they're on our list. They introduced us to something brand new. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. We all know the greatness of this album, but Van Halen 1 is my number 2. All right. What is your number 1, Jerry?
Everybody should know this one. Come on now.
Yeah.
Best band ever, in my opinion. I mean, like I said before, when we did the Zeppelin thing, that is what a fucking 60s and 70s rock band looks like, man. Badass. The songs on it are just incredible. The bass line on How Many More Times, man. I love that so much. And like I said before, John Paul Jones, probably the most underrated musician in any band, in my opinion. I mean, the guy was so talented. He still is talented. But, I mean, you mentioned Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. What a great song that is, man. Great White did a great cover of that, if you ever heard it.
They did.
We talked about it on that
on the Zeppelin show we did.
But like I said, this debut here is my favorite band. To me, they could do no wrong, and they started out on a really high note with this sucker right here.
Well, you all know what my number 1 is.
Yeah.
That's a long box.
I'll be in a few people's list, yeah.
That's a CD long box. Remember these things?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I also have this cool kind of a box set. So it's got that. It's got the first Van Halen album. It's got 1984. It's got Live Tokyo Dome all in one package on LP.
Oh, wow.
When did that come out?
Oh, this came out probably a decade, probably 10 years ago already.
Really?
Yeah. But it's really cool.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, shit. Like I've said before, and Eddie is one of my holy trinity of guitar players, and he's the one that really made me pick it up and want to learn. I mean, Iron Man may have been the first song I learned, but it was Eddie that really made me pick up the guitar and want to play. And again, my older brother had like all the early Van Halen albums, and hearing them just blew my mind apart, and nobody was doing that. I mean, like Hendrix was the decade before, he just completely rewrote the book. He threw the book out, and just, and shit. I mean, the sound that he got, the tone, the fact that he was an inventor too, man. I mean, he just tore guitars apart and put a humbucker in a Strat style guitar, and nobody was doing that stuff. Yeah. He wanted the Les Paul sound and the Strat body, so he just experimented. He said he ruined a lot of guitars, but hey, you got to ruin a lot of stuff to get to where you're going.
I think it worked out all right.
It worked out all right for him. Yeah, that's my numero uno, man. Eddie, man.
I can't get wrong with that one.
Yeah,
like I said, I was battling with that one, and
and
Zeppelin's debut, but Zeppelin's my favorite band. I couldn't let that.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh boy, it's me in the left field. I went with Talking Heads 77.
That's good stuff.
I like that. I like the fact that you're different.
I love Talking Heads, and this one, I mean, just for a debut album, for something that's really bizarre, and coming in with David Byrne is just something else. He's another. I always talk about this, like, people that I think are like aliens, like they're not from this planet. And then like Bowie and Prince, and David Byrne is one that he's definitely on the spectrum. He talks about it in his book. He has a book that came out a while ago that's called How Music Works. And that's, even if you're not a big David Byrne fan and just a music fan, that book is amazing, because he talks about all this different music history and like original recordings when they couldn't use like a bass drum, so they'd use like a tuba for the percussion and stuff. Like, I don't know, he knows a lot of stuff about music, and that's a really interesting thing. But he mentions in that he's on the spectrum, and he's like, I never realized it before this, and that he, like, I don't know if he was diagnosed or what, but he talks about it, and it's like, once you know that, you can really see it. But his brain is just so different and tuned in to like another wavelength, and that's what I love about David Byrne. But this, you got to give credit to everybody else, that like Tina Weymouth, you have like Tina Weymouth.
She's a phenomenal bass player, man.
Yeah, and great singer and stuff. Like, she does that Tom Tom Club. Yeah. Yep. So, and that's like in Stop Making Sense. If you watch that, they have that breakdown that like David Byrne walks off stage, and then you're hearing Tom Tom Club. So they're another band that, like, that's really weird music, but it's fun, like kitschy, like 80s music. I'd say that it's like good pop dance music. But on this, she's credited as Martina Weymouth, which I think is funny that she like changed her name after this. There's the back cover. I love the cover that they have them. I never know which way to go.
You're fine like that.
I'm backwards, but her and Chris Franz are married, so you have this like married couple dynamic going on, and that was a lot of like issues with them as being like co-founders with David Byrne, that they had a bunch of strife between the band, that trying to make decisions, and like David Byrne wanted stuff a certain way, and that's hard. But then thinking about it later, and it's like, all right, well, he is on the spectrum, so like their brain is in focus on what they need to do and what they want to do. And I think when people don't realize that, they didn't know at the time, it's like, there was an interview with Tina Weymouth, and she's just like, oh, we could never get back together because it's like dealing with him, he's just not a good friend, and it was hard to work with him because of that. But I don't know, you start to think about all these other things when you know more stuff about a band. That
I heard they keep asking him to come back, and he's like, F no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're like, we need to dial it in, or we need to do this with a song, and he's like, absolutely not. And he wasn't wrong. Like, if you imagine any of these songs being anything less than what they are, it's like, no, like it needs to be what his vision was. And that's just watching something like Stop Making Sense, and you see everything coming in and coming together, and this is this whole like choreographed show basically, that he had it exactly as he wanted it in his mind, how he pictured how everything comes in and out, and all the crazy stuff like the big suit.
Yeah.
I mean, just such a brilliant, not from this earth person, but it kicks off with Love Comes to Town and then ends with Pulled Up. But I think the last track on, like the second to last track, Psycho Killer, is such a bizarre
I love that
song to come out and be like, wait a minute, what the hell is he singing about?
They did a great rock. Their performance at the Rock Hall.
Oh
really
man,
too.
that's their last live performance together. I'm like, could you imagine? I think that was like 91. And it's like, could you imagine being at that show that they finally are together again on stage? And then it's like phenomenal performance between all of them.
Yeah.
But that's something, if anybody's never seen Stop Making Sense and you're cool with watching an hour and a half music video, basically. But I have that on the level of like the band The Last Waltz. That's something that I end up doing like once a year. I watch those and usually it's back to back for whatever reason. I don't know. But they're just both two phenomenal sets that you get to actually feel like you're there. Like that's the closest I'm ever going to experience seeing Talking Heads, which I've seen David Byrne solo, amazing. I fangirl cried, and I am not a crier. I might have had a couple of cocktails, but
does he do Talking Head songs?
Yeah, he did a bunch of Talking Heads. He did some stuff from American Utopia. He did some of his solo stuff from like I feel like he did a song off Look Into the Eyeball and maybe like one or two off of Uh-Oh, which I've talked about those before, which both of those are amazing. But yeah, all right, I'm going to stop rambling because you guys know me and Talking Heads. I'll go on and on. So, Brad, what is your number one?
Breaking news. Breaking news.
This will be a surprise. Yeah. By the way, that Talking Heads album is a really good sounding album.
Oh, I love this.
I don't know who produced that.
I managed to get this OG. This produced by Tony Bon Jovi. Sorry, Tony Bon Jovi.
Hey, Bon Jovi.
Lance Quinn and Talking Heads, engineered by Ed States
at the record plant.
Sire Records. I managed to pick up this OG. I was so excited to find this.
But isn't that John Bon Jovi's uncle?
Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the record plant, right? So anyway, that is a great sounding album. So my number one, in the late 70s, I joined this band, and these guys were real classic rock kind of guys. Not my thing, because I was really narrowly focused. I only liked 4 bands, and but they introduced me to something that I really got into, and I think this is a perfect album. Every track, the way it's laid out from start to finish, and that's Eddie Money's first album, self-titled album. I mean, it's just pure rock, man. It's what I love. It's guys playing real instruments, rocking out, and great songs, great performances, and a great sounding album. So
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a really good album too by Eddie Money.
That's got what? 2 Tickets to Paradise, Baby Hold On to Me.
Yeah, that was the perfect sound for that.
Well, that's side one starts off with 2 Tickets to Paradise. Side 2 is Baby Hold On to Me.
Yeah, a great song. I'm just remembering the songs off it. That is a great album. You're right.
There's so many of his hits on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've played. We played, I don't know, like 5 songs off of that album.
Oh wow!
And they were just a blast to play. I mean, it was just like so much fun. It just really, it just rocked.
Well, and those are songs that like get the crowd going.
Yep.
You know, people get up and dance to those, so that's always a fun song to play if you're doing band like that.
I forgot about that. That's a phenomenal.
And that was about the time when Journey and Foreigner and those bands were arena acts. And then here came Eddie Money with his sound. Yeah, it was good.
Yep. Guitar, bass, drums, man. Well, I guess keyboards in there too, but yeah, it was just really good. And he was a great singer.
Yeah.
He was a great dude.
Wasn't he a cop before he was a musician?
Yeah, I think that was kind of a cop light, but yeah.
Yeah.
Diet Cop.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they fluff up their bio. It's kind of like Gene Simmons being a school teacher. It's like, yeah, kind of, but not really, you know.
His father was a cop.
Yeah,
but I don't think he made it through Police Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But his dad was a New York City police officer.
All right.
And then I guess he was the Steve Gutenberg of Police Academy.
Yeah. For whatever reason, he went to California, and Bill
You made
Graham,
the right career choice.
Bill Graham made him a star. Want to be a rock and roll star? Great song, by the way.
Wanna be, yeah. My number one. I thought this was going to be on more lists, but it was only on Al's, I think.
That must be good.
I'm just looking at everybody else's, but Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah.
Man, I love this album. This was, beginning to end. Like Al, the songs, Welcome to the Jungle, It's So Easy, Night Train, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City. You flip it, you get My Michelle, which is a crazy story. Sweet Child of Mine, You're Crazy, and Rocket Queen is just as crazy. So Guns N' Roses is my number one.
When I first heard Welcome to the Jungle, I couldn't stand it.
Really?
Not my favorite song, but when I heard every other song off that album, man, that album it's dirty and it's awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great album. So just a recap, Jerry's number one was Zeppelin. Al's number one was Van Halen. Kate with Talking Head 77. And Brad with Eddie Money, and I went with Guns N' Roses. We had so many different albums on here. I think we all had, we almost all had Jimi Hendrix. AC/DC was just once. Collective Soul. Boston, which was a big hit, was on one of ours. Kill 'Em All was on two of them.
Yeah.
Things like Warning. Made it on Brad's list, and Brad gave us some interesting ones with the Tesla and the Thunder. Right? Those first is 10, 9, and 8 were something that can be introduced to us all. And Al, with the classic cars and car doors, and Iron Maiden, Kill 'Em All. All these albums really had a place for us all. And Kate introduced us probably to Squirrel Nut
Zippers. Yeah. You'll know them. You'll know them. The minute you just look up them and look at their top 5 tracks that pop up when you're going to stream them. You'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard all these.
So you know how we do 10 plus 5. So honorable mentions. Al?
Oh, Jerry goes first.
I forgot about the honorable mentions, so I'm out, unfortunately.
Oh.
Okay.
However, I will mention Tesla because if I would have remembered that would have made my top 10 list. I just completely forgot about that album. That is a phenomenal record.
All right, so I'll run through a couple, and I'm going to go with the first King's X album, Out of the Silent Planet. When this band came out, much like Tesla, they came out in an era where it was very, glammy and everything. And here's these 3 guys that kind of look like they came out of the 60s, almost like a Beatles era. And they had the Beatlesque harmonies against a hard rock, very heavy music. And they just blew me away with their vocal harmonies and musical interplay and being a power trio and everything. They blew my mind. Speaking of power trios, you all know that Rush is my favorite. I got to give a shout out to the first Rush album. Neil wasn't on this album, but I still love this album a lot. Lifeson just killer on this album. I mean, he just riff after riff and just destroying it, and real heavy, man. Heavy for its time, and the first Rush album, not perfect, but still a great debut. I'm gonna go with the first Cinderella album too.
Night Song, yes.
The music is a lot heavier than how they look on the album cover.
That's not fair.
Tom Kiefer signed it here. It's in purple, just like the Cinderella logo. So the first Cinderella album.
That was my very first concert.
I think Duran Duran's debut is excellent as well. Girls on Film, Planet Earth. I mean, some amazing songs on here. Sound of Thunder. Is there something I should know? Which was actually a bonus track that came out after this. But Tel Aviv, really cool album. I think they're really cool and ushered in an era, for the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
First EZO album, Japanese metal, kind of in the mold of like Loudness. Really solid debut, produced by Gene Simmons, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. I know I'm going over 5, but real quick. U2's Boy. Really good debut.
Yeah.
Twisted Sister, Under the Blade.
That album kicks real
There's
ass.
another album that dropped that people are like, what in the hell is happening?
Yeah. Actually, this was a game changer, and it could have been in my top 10, but Rage Against the Machine's first one.
Yeah.
Really changed the way. It ushered in a lot of bands, combining the rap and the rock, And I got to go with Blind Faith, man.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, this album is awesome. I mean, Steve Winwood and Ginger Baker and Eric, and every song on here is like really solid, man.
Presence of the Lord, love that song.
So yeah, those are a couple of my honorable mentions. There were some other ones that I took out because you guys already had them on your list. So I just want to throw out some names. That King's X one, man, I love King's X, so that's really the most important one for me.
I'll check that out.
The King's X one?
Yeah, I think I have that on cassette. Or I've got one on cassette that's got the Texas. I got that on cassette.
Out of the Solid Planet, yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh boy. All right. You mentioned Rage Against the Machine. We've mentioned Weezer. We've mentioned Zeppelin. Tracy Chapman.
Wow.
We didn't mention that. 88. Another person who's like 24, dropping an absolutely amazing debut album. Great guitar, great vocals, her voice.
Yeah.
I keep trying to look for her vinyl, but it's like expensive.
It's so expensive. That first off one, that self-title is very expensive.
Yeah, that's a good record.
Yeah.
I heard that's the one with Fast Car on it and all that, right?
Yep.
Good stuff. I mean,
talk about a revolution. I mean, that's just like, I don't know. She's phenomenal. I feel like she's really underrated in like the broad spectrum of the music world. A lot of big music buffs and people like us really dig her. But yeah, that one. I talked about it in the 1969 episode, but that Gandalf self-titled Psych, another weird album that I absolutely love. One of my favorite albums. What else I got? Let me think about this. Trying to think of what we didn't mention yet. In the realm of Talking Heads, Modern Lovers dropped their self-title in 76. That one's killer. Same vein, Television drops their self-title in 77. So those are both really cool. They're really different sounding bands too.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that Tracy Chapman.
Dude, pricey. Yeah, there, man. I've been trying to find that. I can't find it.
It's a pricier album, yeah. You'll have to just like have a miracle snatch it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
You don't get lucky when I get a garage sale in a few weeks.
Yeah. I found a copy at a garage sale that was not outrageous.
Right.
That's a nice nighttime album to listen to.
Yeah. She's so soothing. There's just something about her that that's serene. You mentioned Weezer. Andy had it on his list. What about the band Music from Big Pink?
The band,
68, that's something killer to me. That's what I say. Like I always end up watching the band's Last Waltz somehow. That's like back to back, them and Stop Making Sense. They're just two phenomenal like live recordings that the band one. I mean, there's just everybody famous is on that. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different people on that. We didn't mention Beatles. Get a shout out, please me. How many did I do? 4? I don't know. 5? I think I'm done. I'll stop talking. But we didn't mention Beatles at all. Well, we did a little bit when we were talking about the blues guys. I'm like, we got to shout out the Beatles. Definitely not my favorite Beatles album, but obviously like a huge game changer that we've been name dropping that I'm like, Please Please Me is a big deal. But y'all know.
I guess we just didn't mention Please Please Me because there's so much more.
I know this is such a hard well, and this was picking like influential versus what I really love too, like bands that I listened to this album a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, and one I didn't mention that I absolutely adore this album. It's one of my top 10 albums of all time. It's called Middle Brother, and it's a self-title, and it's a combo of guys from Deer Tick, Delta Spirit, and Dawes, which are all like different kind of folk bands. But
and who did you say Dawes?
Yeah.
DAWES?
Yes. Yep. So it's like a super group of those guys. Yeah. This dropped in 2011. I've listened to this album. Like, I don't know where my copy is. I wish I had it. I don't have it to show you guys the cover. It's over there somewhere. And
do you listen to Dawes?
Yeah. Yeah. I like Dawes. Dawes is great. Deer Tick's phenomenal too. If you don't know them and you like that kind of stuff, like check out Deer Tick. John McCauley's the lead singer in Deer Tick, and I've seen them live a couple times, and
I've seen Dawes about 4 times already.
Yeah,
I love Dawes.
They're great live, and that's the vocalist in Dawes is so good, and he's in Middle Brother. He does vocals, and John McCauley does vocals.
I did not know that. I gotta check him out.
Check out that album. I can't recommend that enough. That's just one of my favorite of all time, and being a super group, I mean, you just get some really magical. That could be another show. We could do like super group albums because
that's true. Because I almost put Dawes' debut album on here.
Yeah. I have their newer one that just dropped that I need to listen to, but I got a copy of it, and it's like they're really, really good. Middle Brother is just a really strong combo of all those that you get a good taste of everybody's ability and their vocal stylings, because they give each guy like a chance to do a song, which is really cool to me, to let everybody do stuff that's different. But yeah, I don't know. I saw like Deer Tick live once, and it was like just in between songs that John McCauley is like, "Oh, what do you guys want to play?" And he just like noodles out Sleepwalk. And like,
they remind me a lot of Band of Horses.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. But yeah, Middle Brother. I highly recommend it.
I gotta write that down because I love Dawes. Yeah. And every time when they come out with something new, and in fact, they're coming out with something new again. Middle.
Yeah. Those are all bands that are worth seeing live. That they just are really good. They usually play little places, little clubs and stuff, and it's just, I don't know. I'd like sell a kidney if I could see Middle Brother together live. They played like Newport Folk Festival a few times and like different stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Well worth a listen.
And in fact, Dawes, who plays folk rock, they played a whole set of Sabbath songs.
Yeah, they'll do just crazy stuff because that was like
just Sabbath. It was crazy.
Like just mentioning in like John McCauley when I saw Deer Tick that he just like noodles out Sleepwalk, which is like Santo and Johnny, and as like, and he just nails it, and then he's like, "All right, let's do the next one." It's like, what is happening? Like, this is so crazy. So they're just super talented guys, and I think they kind of fall under the radar, Yeah. But all right, Brad.
Okay, album that probably should have made my top 10, but didn't because they are one of my favorite bands. And that's Blue Oyster Cult, their first album.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of discounted it because it's a little bit. I don't know. It's a very first album-y. It's not real polished, but there's some songs on there that are just unbelievable. Stairway to the Stars, Transmaniacon MC, the opening song, Cities on Flame, Last Days of May. I mean, just songs that they still play.
Phenomenal.
Well, that's huge. Joe Jackson's first album, Look Sharp, that was huge for me in the late 70s.
I love Joe Jackson.
Yeah, the bass playing on that, I still go to that when I want to kind of sharpen my bass playing skills, because Graham Maybe is just unbelievable on that, and they're just great songs. Along that vein, well, actually simpler bass parts, but still great, is Billy Idol's first album. Fantastic, fun stuff to play. I love his early stuff. Michael Schenker Group's first album. That is a very important album for me as well. And then another guitar player that left his band and had a great first album, Lynch Mob, Wicked Sensation.
Yes.
That album is just fantastic. I think that's 5. Yeah. Here we go.
I got some breaking news too, man.
What's up?
I hit 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we did
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
There
We
you
did
go.
it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Way to go, Al.
thank you. If whoever's signed up is watching us, thank you.
Yeah.
We want Al to be a star,
Yeah.
bigger star.
Thank
He
you.
already is a star.
Hey, I didn't put this in there because I wasn't too sure if this was a debut album or not. I know they tinkered
No, it's
around a
not.
little bit, but is this their debut or not really?
Technically,
Not
technically, it's their major label debut.
right.
That's a tough one. I kind of feel like it's a debut album because
Nobody knew them before that, really, except if you were from California
Yeah, you're-
area.
So that's why I've got it as an honorable mention.
Okay.
That's fine.
Oh, thanks, Al. So
He'll allow it. He'll allow it.
Al's feeling all happy because he's got
Well,
1,000
some-
subscribers.
Al's high and mighty. On
Going to his
high
head
on the
now,
hill.
ain't it?
I didn't. No. I didn't mean it that way. But
I know.
I mean,
That's why I'm just playing
some
around.
people would say that Pantera's "Cowboys from Hell" would be their debut, but it's really kind
It's
of
not.
What?
I think they were like kind of glammy, weren't they at first?
Yeah, they had 5 albums before that
Yeah.
that nobody knew about, really, though.
Cool story. Killers with Hot Fuzz. In 2006, when this album came out, my wife and I were all about it, and we went to New York City for our honeymoon. They were playing Madison Square Garden, but it was sold out. We were kind of bummed, but lo and behold, we go to the David Letterman show, and they are the musical guests.
Oh, cool.
Under David, and so I got to see them in the Ed Sullivan Theater as well. So that was really cool. And I don't know if I've ever been to the David Sullivan, but to the David Letterman show. They played a couple of songs, and afterwards, when the cameras were turned off, they played about 3 more. So that was pretty cool to see them there. I think I've talked about this band, but Counting Crows, August, and everything after. This album kicks ass, beginning to end, word for word.
Murder One, I love that song.
This album kicks ass. We touched on this kind of briefly. Rainbow. Ronnie James Dio. Man on a Silver Mountain. Catch the Rainbow. Dude, this is such a great album. We talked about the Kiss one. Kiss. This is one I was kind of surprised we did not talk about. I got it in a compilation of A Nice Pair. So this is going to be
Saucer Full of
The Gates of
Secrets.
Dawn.
yeah,
It's a great record.
right there by Floyd, and then A Saucer Full of Secrets, of course, is the other disc, and I believe this is on the Harvest label. So this is really good stuff. I'm a big Pink Floyd fan, so I'm glad that was on there. Y'all mentioned Boston.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And this is not an odd one for me. I am from Texas. George Strait, Straight Country. This is an awesome album from 80 or 81. I don't know if y'all are too familiar with country, especially from the early 80s.
I actually have a story about George Strait when you're done, actually.
But really, that's cool. You know what? It's so weird because I was listening to the Tom Petty radio station on XM, and George Strait does a cover of oh my God, it'll come to me.
Yeah. Anyway, I was working at this place called the Coral Sky Amphitheater in Florida when I lived there.
Yeah.
I'm basically cleaning up one side of the place. It was an outdoor place, and George Strait was signing autographs. He had a meet and greet, and his management was telling him, "We got to go. Sorry, we can't get anybody." And George Strait said, I'm signing everybody that's here."
Wow.
And he did not leave until he signed. There's like 100 people behind him. So he did
Yeah.
not leave until he signed up. I'm not a country fan, but I thought that moment was pretty cool. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. He did a cover of "You Wreck Me." You wreck me, baby, by Tom Petty. I've seen George Strait a couple of times here at the Houston Livestock and Rodeo. All right, guys. Great picks all the way around. We talked about so many great albums. Just to let everybody know what's going on in the future, on Friday on Black Spinner Circle, me and Will Toth are going to be dropping the needle on Alice Cooper's "Welcome to My Nightmare." So if y'all want to join in on that, that is where we play an album at the same time simultaneously, and we chat about it. And also on Wednesday, we are going to have Edwin Canastrossi as our guest. He is from Rock All Over You podcast. What we're going to be doing there, we are going to be doing a vinyl battle, a 3-way vinyl battle. We are going to be doing the Holy Trinity of hard rock and heavy metal. That will be Black Sabbath Paranoid versus Led Zeppelin 4 versus Deep Purple's Machine Head. We'll go track by track. So let me know if y'all want to do that.
That's a battle.
Yeah, that's going to be fun, going track by track. So we've done it for 2 albums this time. I called it a tri-record, like a Tri-City kind of thing. I don't know. I'm still playing. I'm still playing with a title. So that's what I got going on coming up. And then, of course, July is going to be, 4th of July. So the whole month, I'm going to be doing an American theme for the whole month of July, starting with the best of your top 10 of 1976. I chose the bicentennial year. And then ranking Aerosmith, which I believe is one of the best American bands. And also, I thought since we have such a nice little group here, that we could do the top 10 bands of our state.
10
bands
That'll be interesting.
That's cool, man.
And I need one more to finish off the week, to finish off the month, but that's what's going on.
That's going to be a tough one for me.
Well, I was thinking
about there's a lot of bands from Tennessee. I know that Kings of Leon are from Tennessee.
Yeah, and New Jersey's got a lot. Michigan's got a lot.
Detroit is.
Well, there's so many from Utah.
yeah, but you're also from LA.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You could do your hometown.
Yeah, you can do your hometown.
Utah. Well, my hometown would be San Francisco. If I can do that, that'd be a lot
easier. The Osmonds.
There you go.
Yeah, the Osmonds, yeah.
There you go.
And then I will have Texas.
Oh wait, my wife just said Imagine Dragons. So there you go. Who else is from Utah? The Killers, the singer from the Killers is from Utah.
Brandon
really? I know that
they kicked his ass out when he moved to Vegas. So
yeah, because they're from Henderson, Nevada.
Yeah,
they're just outside of Vegas. So that's what we got cooking here at the Black Spinner Circle podcast.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, guys, for joining me. I know that it was a long one, but we all had things that we wanted to share and albums that were so important to us that we want to talk about them, and I love it. That's great.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm always, I'm always honored that you guys invite me every week. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks a lot for joining us, Jerry, and thank you so much, Brad. We've missed you. You haven't been on. I understand you've been very busy, but thanks for joining us today. Mm-hmm. And Kate, as always, thank you very much. Yeah. And Al, thank you for keeping us in line if we say something wrong.
The fact checker.
And everybody out there watching us on Facebook and YouTube, join us next week where we will have Edwin Canastrossi as being our guest, and we will do those albums and we will break down those 3 albums like we always do. So thank y'all very much, and I will talk to y'all later, and y'all have a good night and a nice weekend, guys.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks,
Andy. Good night.
Good night.
Yep.
Good night, guys.
I don't know how to shut this down, Andy.
I got it.